Chapter 1268. The five-colored light shield formed by the five-colored divine dragons could not be broken even with the Stygian scale bear's all-out attack. Roar! The Stygian scale bear roared again. However, this time, its roar was filled with fear. Obviously, the Stygian scale bear had realized how powerful Duan Lingtian was. It was afraid. Although its intelligence was low, it was only compared to an ordinary demon emperor powerhouse. It was completely terrified when faced with an opponent who could remain unscathed even with its all-out attack. Its mountain-like body shook, and it turned around abruptly, intending to escape. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. As the saying goes, courtesy demands reciprocity. If you can take 2 of my attacks and not die, I'll spare your life. Duan Lingtian's eyes turned cold when he saw the Stygian scale bear trying to escape. He moved his body and performed the dragon soaring 9 heavens again, catching up with the Stygian scale bear in a flash. Duan Lingtian's strength was above the Stygian scale bear's even without his spiritual weapon. This could be seen from how he easily blocked the Stygian scale bear's all-out attack with his defensive martial skill earlier. Therefore, it was easy for him to catch up with the Stygian scale bear and block its path. Before the Stygian scale bear had the time to react, Duan Lingtian moved and executed the movement technique, dragon soaring 9 heavens, once again. His entire body seemed to have transformed into a 5-colored divine dragon as he collided with the devil spirit bear. Whoosh! Without using any martial skill, Duan Lingtian threw a punch at the Stygian scale bear's chest at lightning speed. It was a solid punch. Boom! A loud sound reverberated. The force from Duan Lingtian's punch penetrated the Stygian scale bear's chest with ease, causing the void to tremble as a rolling shockwave swept out. Boom! 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 The shockwave continued to wreak havoc and swept out, setting off a series of thunderous booms. The commotion was undoubtedly much greater than when the Stygian scale bear attacked Duan Lingtian earlier. Roar! The Stygian scale bear let out a deafening scream as its huge body flew out like an arrow. It flew for more than 100 meters before it slowed down. Roar! After the Stygian scale bear stopped moving, it glared at Duan Lingtian with a murderous gleam in its eyes before it began to descend. It wanted to escape into the sea. How? How is this possible? It actually didn't die. Duan Lingtian was stunned when he saw that the Stygian scale bear had only let out 2 miserable cries before it fled back into the sea. Not only did he exert all of his origin energy in the punch earlier, but he had also exerted all of his fused profundity and sword profundity. Originally, in his opinion, with the Stygian scale bear's strength, his punch was completely capable of killing it. However, the result was completely out of his expectations. The Stygian scale bear has an extremely terrifying scale armor. Even if I were to punch it with all my strength like you, it might not necessarily die. At the same time, the spirit profound Emperor Wu Yanghui transmitted his voice into Duan Lingtian's ears, waking Duan Lingtian up. His defense is so strong. When Duan Lingtian heard this, he could not help but be shocked. It seemed like the heavens were fair. When the Stygian scale bear had low intelligence and could not transform into a human, it was given an indestructible shell. Seeing that the Stygian scale bear was about to fall into the sea, Duan Lingtian made his move again. Before the Stygian scale bear fell into the sea, he blocked its path. I've said before. If you can survive 2 of my attacks, I'll let you go. Don't even think about escaping before I attack you for the 2nd time. Duan Lingtian said coldly. He did not care if the Stygian scale bear understood him or not. Just now, when he said those words, it was actually just a casual remark. In his opinion, he only needed 1 attack to kill the Stygian scale bear. Who would have thought that the Stygian scale bear's scale armor would be so terrifying? It had blocked almost all of the attacks for it, and it did not seem to be injured even after receiving a full-force punch from him. Roar! The Stygian scale bear roared. It seemed to know that it would not be able to escape if the human in front of it did not get rid of him. Hence, it pounced on him again. Faced with the Stygian scale bear's claws, Duan Lingtian looked at the Stygian scale bear calmly. 9 Dragons' Protection. Once again, 5 divine dragons appeared around his body. They moved quickly and transformed into a 5-colored light shield. Boom! 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 The Stygian scale bear attacked Duan Lingtian crazily. It attacked with its claws again and again. The lightning-like attacks fell like rain on the 5-colored light shield that rose around Duan Lingtian's body. However, its attacks only caused ripples on the 5-colored light shield. It was as though it was tickling the Stygian scale bear. What's he doing? Yang Hui simply stood there, unmoving like a mountain. Even his robes didn't flutter in the slightest. He looked at Duan Lingtian, who was standing there in a daze. He could not help but feel puzzled. After a while, he got his answer. Gale Thunder Finger. Duan Lingtian, who had been standing there in a daze, suddenly moved. He lifted his hand and pointed a finger at the Stygian scale bear's chest that was attacking him. To be more precise, his finger was pointing at a spot where the Stygian scale bear's chest and neck met. There was a gap there that was not covered by the scales. The gap was very small. If one did not look carefully, they would not have noticed it. Gale Thunder Finger was an offensive martial skill that came with the 9 Dragons War Sovereign technique. It was only an Earth rank martial skill, and Duan Lingtian had not used it for a long time. However, when it was cast by Duan Lingtian, it was like a gust of wind, and its momentum was like a rainbow. The fused profundity replaced the wind profundity. The sword profundity replaced the thunder profundity. As soon as he pointed his finger, the 2 profundities followed him like shadows and landed on the small gap between the Stygian scale bear's chest and neck. They cut through the gap like tofu. Spurt. When the finger landed, blood splattered everywhere. During this process, Duan Lingtian did not feel any resistance. When his finger pierced the Stygian scale bear, several finger forces shot out from his fingertips and twisted wildly in the Stygian scale bear's body. Instantly, the Stygian scale bear's mountain-like body trembled violently. Roar! Roar! Accompanied by shrill cries, the Stygian scale bear's voice became softer and softer until it finally disappeared. The Stygian scale bear's huge body fell from the sky. Inner core. Seeing that the Stygian scale bear was about to fall into the sea, Duan Lingtian made his move. He lifted the Stygian scale bear with one arm and took out a spirit sword with the other hand. He stabbed the Stygian scale bear's wound. What happened next was simple. Using the Stygian scale bear's wound as a starting point, Duan Lingtian tore open the scales on the Stygian scale bear's body along the small gaps between the scales. He took out a pill that was shining faintly. It was the Stygian scale bear's inner core. After taking out the profundity fragment from the Stygian scale bear's body, Duan Lingtian allowed the Stygian scale bear to fall into the sea with a loud bang. It set off countless waves. In the distance, Yang Hui had a shocked expression on his face. What a powerful observation. He saw through the Stygian scale bear's weakness in just a few breaths of time. Yang Hui could not help but sigh when he recalled the scene earlier. He still remembered. When he first went out to sea and encountered the Stygian scale bear, he spent more than an hour to find the Stygian scale bear's weakness. However, the purple-clad young man nearby only spent a few breaths of time to find it. It was so fast that it was shocking. After putting away the spoils of war, Duan Lingtian returned to Yang Hui's side and asked curiously, "Are the demon beasts in the overseas all-powerful but can't transform and have low intelligence?" "Of course not." Yang Hui shook his head. "In the overseas, demon emperors like the Stygian scale bear are the minority. Most of the demon emperors are similar to the demon emperors on Cloud Continent. For example, the Emperor's stage demon beasts we encountered along the way were all like the Stygian scale bear that I killed." The other Emperor's stage demon beasts can transform into humans and have intelligence that's not inferior to humans, Yang Hui explained. Duan Lingtian nodded. I see. Duan Lingtian nodded in realization. Duan Lingtian had not fully recovered his memory. Otherwise, he would have learned about this from the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory. After all, the reincarnation Emperor Wu had left Cloud Continent before. Although he did not go deep into the overseas, he had stayed there for a period of time and encountered many overseas demon beasts. There was no lack of demon emperors among them. Soon after, Yang Hui continued to lead Duan Lingtian and the others on their journey. As they got closer to the hidden fog island, Duan Lingtian did not continue to cultivate. His mind was completely immersed in the memory that he had recovered in the past few months. He realized that the memory was extremely rich. First, he recalled some of his previous experiences. He recalled most of the memories from when he left the southern outer land of Cloud Continent and crossed the Ruoshui River. Crossing the Ruoshui River, subduing the Gold Thug, annihilating the Berserk Mongrel Rodent clan, breaking into the Yin-Yang sect, establishing the Ling Tian sect, the memories from when he crossed the Ruoshui River grew like bamboo shoots after the rain and took root in Duan Lingtian's mind. Everything seemed to have happened yesterday. Tian Wu. Soon after, he remembered Feng Tianwu, the girl who had always been by his side. He could not recall her origin. She was imprisoned in the Lost Stone Forest. He also remembered what happened to him in the Lost Stone Forest. He remembered the Devil Seal Tablet as well. During the battle in the Lost Stone Forest, the Devil Seal Tablet devilified him and fought fiercely with Emperor Wu until his consciousness was completely annihilated. He remembered all of this. So, the Devil Seal Tablet was left in the Lost Stone Forest. Tian Wu is also in the Lost Stone Forest. Duan Lingtian's eyes gleamed coldly with killing intent. Brother Yang. Duan Lingtian looked at Yang Hui and took the initiative to greet him. Yang Hui looked at Duan Lingtian in confusion. Brother Lingtian, what's the matter? Brother Yang. I'd like to know if Emperor Wu from the Lost Stone Forest will bring people to the Hidden Fog Martial Competition this time. Duan Lingtian asked. Of course. Chapter 1269. That's good. Duan Lingtian nodded in satisfaction when he found out that the owner of Lost Stone Forest, Emperor Wu, would be coming. At the same time, the cold gleam in the depth of his eyes grew stronger as though it was about to devour someone. What's wrong? Brother Lingtian, do you have a grudge against Emperor Wu? Yang Hui could not help but ask when he noticed that something was wrong with Duan Lingtian. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. When Yang Hui saw that Duan Lingtian did not say anything after he nodded, he realized that he did not want to talk about it. Therefore, he did not ask any further. However, he could not help but remind him, Brother Lingtian. Emperor Wu, Shi Qi broke through to the 4th level Emperor Wu stage earlier than I did. His strength is not to be underestimated. 4th level Emperor Wu stage, Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. Although his expression did not change, his heart could not help but sink. Although he recalled what happened in Lost Stone Forest back then. However, the strength he displayed after he was devilified and Emperor Wu's strength was extremely vague in his memory. Now that he heard Yang Hui's words, he had a certain understanding of Emperor Wu. Yang Hui led the group and continued on their journey. Duan Lingtian, on the other hand, began to ponder to himself. Back then, when the selection of Emperor Wu's disciples and followers was held at Lingxian Peak, his cultivation base had already successfully broken through to the 6th level martial monarch stage. Naturally, the reason he broke through so quickly was all thanks to the rebirth pill and the destruction before reconstruction. However, the increase in his strength was not only in his cultivation base. The fused profundity and sword profundity that he had comprehended had also greatly improved. According to his estimation, the rapid improvement of the 2 profundities should be attributed to the soul remnant energy from the Devil Seal Tablet suppressing his soul. His soul had been in danger of being destroyed, but it had turned out to be a blessing in disguise. He had obtained an indescribable qualitative change and sublimation. It had been a few months since the selection of Emperor Wu's disciples and followers was held at Lingxian Peak. Although he was in a hurry, he did not delay his cultivation. Furthermore, along the way, the spirit-profound Emperor Wu Yang Hui was the one who brought him and the other 9 people. He did not expend any energy at all. As a result, his cultivation base had successfully broken through to the 9th level martial monarch stage. As for the 2 profound meanings he had comprehended, his fused profundity and sword profundity had both risen to the 5th level. The sword profound had caught up with the fused profound. All of this was due to the sword Dao comprehension accumulated in Duan Lingtian's mind. The sword Dao comprehension originated from the word sword in Duan Lingtian's hometown. The word sword was left behind by a self-proclaimed sword saint, Feng Qingyang. While Duan Ling Tian was secretly estimating his current strength, a light bulb suddenly lit up in his mind, and a name appeared in his mind. It was the name of the self-proclaimed sword saint. The memory of the word sword began to flash in his mind as he recalled it. I was wondering how my sword profundity could rise so quickly and even catch up with the fused profundity. So it's all because of the word sword. After recalling the memory, Duan Lingtian's heart was suddenly enlightened. At some point in time, Duan Ling Tian closed his eyes again. He knew very well that with his current strength, he was far inferior to Emperor Wu, who was at the 4th level Emperor Wu stage. If he wanted to defeat Emperor Wu, he still needed to improve his strength. Therefore, he quickly immersed himself in his cultivation and did not let go of any opportunity to cultivate. 9 Dragons War Sovereign Technique, Divine Dragon Form. While cultivating, Duan Lingtian and the rest were getting closer to the hidden fog island under Yang Hui's lead. As the overseas Saint Island, the hidden fog island had many Emperor Wu powerhouses and Demon Emperor powerhouses from the Cloud Continent. These Emperor Wu powerhouses and Demon Emperor powerhouses' strength was not inferior to the famous Emperor Wu powerhouses and Demon Emperor powerhouses on the Cloud Continent. There were 3 people who were the most powerful on the hidden fog island. They were the 3 island masters of the hidden fog island. The 3 of them controlled the hidden fog island and had many disciples under them. Although there was no distinction between disciples and followers, there was a clear hierarchy. Core disciple, inner island disciple, and outer island disciple. These 3 types of hidden fog island disciples were treated differently. The hidden fog martial competition this time was personally organized by the hidden fog island. Apart from inviting the disciples of the Emperor Wu powerhouses and Demon Emperor powerhouses from the Cloud Continent, the outstanding disciples of the Hidden Fog Island would also participate in the Hidden Fog martial competition. At that time, the powerhouses below the age of 70 on the Hidden Fog Island and the Cloud Continent would have an intense competition. Currently, there were only 3 months left before the Hidden Fog martial competition would begin. However, the Hidden Fog Island was already bustling with activity. The Emperor Wu powerhouses and Demon Emperor powerhouses who left the Cloud Continent and rushed to the Hidden Fog Island had already arrived on the Hidden Fog Island with 10 of their most outstanding disciples. On the Hidden Fog Island, they were warmly welcomed by the Hidden Fog Island. These Emperor Wu powerhouses, Demon Emperor powerhouses, and their disciples were all arranged to stay in a secluded mansion. These mansions were sparsely located on the south side of the Hidden Fog Island. The south side of the Hidden Fog Island was lush with greenery and fresh air. Moreover, it was filled with rich heaven and earth origin energy. It was a good place for cultivation. Almost everyone who was interested in the Hidden Fog Island knew about it. The rich origin stone reserves on the Hidden Fog Island were hidden underground on the east side of the Hidden Fog Island. The cultivation environment on the Hidden Fog Island was also affected by the origin stone reserves. Due to this reason, the east side of the Hidden Fog Island was the best place for cultivation. It was the cultivation place of the 3 island masters, the Hidden Fog Island's core disciples, and the inner island disciples. The outer island disciples were not qualified to set foot in there due to their low status. The outer island disciples were usually distributed on the north and west sides of the hidden fog island. The hidden fog island was surrounded by beautiful scenery and lush greenery. It was a natural scene. However, unlike the surroundings of the hidden fog island, there was a huge city in the middle of the hidden fog island. It was also the only city on the hidden fog island. Hidden Fog City. In the hidden fog city, apart from the guest elders of the hidden fog island, there were also Emperor Wu powerhouses from the Cloud Continent. Of course, apart from these people, most of the people in the fog city were the natives of the hidden fog island. These natives were the descendants of the hidden fog island's disciples since the hidden fog island was established. Their descendants who were talented had all become the hidden fog island's disciples. Those who were not talented stayed in the hidden fog city to do some business and settle down. Many years had passed, and the hidden fog city had developed quite well. It was extremely lively. The south side of the hidden fog island was the place where the hidden fog island entertained their guests. Currently, the martial emperors and demon emperors from Cloud Continent, as well as the 10 most outstanding disciples they brought, were all arranged to stay here as long as they came. Junior sisters, it's your first time on the hidden fog island, so I'm afraid you haven't been to the hidden fog city, right? How about I bring you around? In a spacious mansion in the south of the hidden fog island, a middle-aged man in casual clothes was staring at the 2 young ladies in front of him with greed in his eyes. Beside him, another middle-aged man had a similar gaze. His eyes were filled with greed and desire as he stared at the 2 ladies in front of him. Their eyes were filled with lust, and perverted lust. They had lived on the hidden fog island for most of their lives, but it was their first time seeing such beauties. Moreover, they saw 2 of them at the same time. It made them feel that their trip was not in vain. The 2 ladies in front of them were so beautiful that it was suffocating. It was as though they had stolen their souls. The 2 ladies' appearances could be said to be peerless, and they were devastatingly beautiful. Although they were equally beautiful, the auras of the 2 ladies were completely different. The lady in the light purple robe had a faint seductive aura. It was as though she could turn all living things upside down. She was like a red rose. If the lady in the purple robe was a red rose, then the other lady would be a pure snow lotus. She was a pretty girl from a humble family, and she was pure and lovely. Both ladies were beautiful in their own way. That's right. Junior sisters, with us accompanying you, I guarantee that your trip to the hidden fog city will not be in vain, the other middle-aged man said. He did not hide the fanaticism in his eyes at all. Although these 2 middle-aged men were dressed in casual clothes, there was a token made of an unknown material tied to their waists. Each of them had the word "inner" engraved on it. If there were natives of the hidden fog island here, they would definitely recognize that this was the token that the inner island disciples of the hidden fog island carried around with them. It represented their identity. The inner island disciples of the hidden fog island were on par with the ordinary disciples of Emperor Wu on the Cloud Continent in terms of strength. Thank you for your kindness, senior brothers. However, both of us have just arrived, so we're planning to rest for a while. We don't plan to go to the hidden fog city for the time being, the lady in the purple robe said slowly. The purple-clothed woman said unhurriedly. She seemed polite, but in the depths of her autumn eyes, there was a bit of disgust. She disliked the 2 middle-aged men in front of her. If that's the case, we'll come back another day. One of the middle-aged men said. After a while, the 2 middle-aged men turned around and left. The moment they turned around, their faces turned solemn. They had come to the hidden fog city more than 10 times recently. However, they were rejected every time. Their patience was almost exhausted. If they were ordinary women, they would have used force if the soft approach did not work. However, the 2 women they had their eyes on were the direct disciples of Emperor Wu from the Cloud Continent. Although they were not as strong as them, they did not dare to use force. Unless they wanted to die. The 2 of them were merely inner island disciples of the hidden fog island. Even if they were killed by Emperor Wu from the Cloud Continent, the three island masters of the Hidden Fog Island would not stand up for them. Chapter 1270. The status of the Hidden Fog Island's core disciple in the eyes of the three island masters of the Hidden Fog Island was equivalent to the status of Emperor Wu's direct disciple in the eyes of Emperor Wu on the Cloud Continent. Sister Kerr, it seems like we won't be able to go to the Hidden Fog City today. Although those two fellows have left, they might be lurking nearby. They'll definitely follow us once we leave. The purple-clad lady said to the other lady next to her. It's all right, Sister Fei, we can go again in a few days. The latter replied. The two ladies were Li Fei and Kerr, who followed Yuhan Emperor Wu to the Hidden Fog Island. Although they were Emperor Wu's direct disciples under Emperor Wu, it was difficult for them to achieve outstanding results in the Hidden Fog martial competition with their current abilities. They came to the Hidden Fog Island to join in the fun. Ever since they came to the Hidden Fog Island, they had planned to go to the Hidden Fog City. However, there were two disgusting flies buzzing in their ears every time. It seriously affected their mood. The flies in Li Fei and Kerr's eyes were the two Hidden Fog Island's inner island disciples who had just left. It was the two inner island disciples who welcomed them to stay in the Hidden Fog Island. However, who would have thought that they would pester them every now and then? They would appear as soon as they were ready to go out. They were like dog skin plasters that they could not shake off no matter how hard they tried. Senior Sister Su should be out of closed-door cultivation in a few days. We'll ask her to come with us then. Li Fei's eyes gleamed as she muttered. I don't think they'll dare to do anything with Senior Sister Su around. Kerr snorted softly. When the two ladies returned to their rooms to cultivate, another group of uninvited guests arrived on the Hidden Fog Island. It was the group from Lingxian Peak who had just arrived on the Hidden Fog Island. It was Duan Lingtian's group. Duan Lingtian's group, led by spirit-profound Emperor Wu Yanghui, successfully passed through the dangerous sea region and arrived at their destination, the Hidden Fog Island. We have arrived at the Hidden Fog Island. At this moment, Yang Hui's voice woke everyone up, including Duan Lingtian. All of a sudden, everyone came to their senses. We're here. This is the Hidden Fog Island. Standing here, I can only see a corner of the Hidden Fog Island. Just like its name, most of the Hidden Fog Island is covered by fog. It's as if it's hidden in fog. Many people were sizing up the island in front of them and discussing animatedly. Duan Lingtian stood at the side and sized up the island in front of him. The Hidden Fog Island lived up to its name. Not long after Duan Lingtian and the rest entered the Hidden Fog Island, two silhouettes came from afar and blocked their path. May I ask which Emperor Wu powerhouse from the Cloud Continent are you, my lord? After the two of them stopped Duan Lingtian and the others, they looked at Yang Hui, who was in the lead, and asked directly. Spirit Profound Emperor Wu. Yang Hui replied calmly and glanced at their waists. Inner island disciples of the Hidden Fog Island? My lord, the island master sent us to welcome all of you. Please follow us. We, the Hidden Fog Island, have arranged accommodation for all of you on the southern island. One of the inner island disciples said respectfully. Lead the way. Yang Hui nodded. The two inner island disciples immediately turned around and led the way. They brought Duan Lingtian, Yang Hui, and the rest to the southern part of the Hidden Fog Island. That was where the southern island of the Hidden Fog Island was located. The southern island was where the Hidden Fog Island received guests. Usually, no one was allowed to enter. There would be some inner island disciples patrolling the sky above the southern island from time to time. If any intruder was discovered by them, there was only one outcome, death. On the way, Duan Lingtian and the rest learned about the Hidden Fog Island from one of the inner island disciples. This included the three most powerful island masters in the Hidden Fog Island, a group of Emperor Wu stage and Demon Emperor stage guest elders, as well as some permanent residents of the Emperor Wu stage. Of course, they also heard that there were many weak natives in the Hidden Fog City. The hidden fog island is closed to the outside world. Apart from some powerful Emperor Wu stage and Demon Emperor stage powerhouses, the rest of the natives have never left the hidden fog island from birth to death. This place is simply like a paradise. Duan Lingtian could not help but sigh when he thought about this. Apart from that, Duan Lingtian and the rest also learned about the division of the Hidden Fog Island's core disciples, Inner Island disciples, and Outer Island disciples from the Inner Island disciple. If the Hidden Fog Island was compared to the cultivation place of the Emperor Wu stage powerhouses on the Cloud Continent, in that case, the Outer Island disciples of the Hidden Fog Island were equivalent to Emperor Wu's disciples. The Inner Island disciples were equivalent to Emperor Wu's disciples. Core disciples, on the other hand, were equivalent to the martial emperor's direct disciples. The participants of the Hidden Fog martial competition this time aren't only people from Cloud Continent, right? People from the Hidden Fog Island are participating as well. Yang Hui's third direct disciple, Zhong'an, could not help but ask in surprise after learning about this from the Hidden Fog Island's Inner Island disciple. Yes. The Inner Island disciple nodded. However, our Hidden Fog Island is the same as yours. There are only 10 people participating. The Hidden Fog Island is so big, but there are only 10 people participating in the Hidden Fog martial competition. These 10 people must have extraordinary abilities, right? Someone asked again. Of course. The Inner Island disciple nodded as a hint of pride appeared in his eyes. There are no less than 20 core disciples in our Hidden Fog Island. The 10 people who are participating in the Hidden Fog martial competition are the 10 most outstanding core disciples in our Hidden Fog Island. Boom! The Inner Island disciples' words were like a bolt from the blue to Duan Lingtian and the rest. They were so shocked that they could not regain their senses for a long time. There were no less than 20 core disciples on the Hidden Fog Island. One must know that the strength of a core disciple on the Hidden Fog Island was equivalent to Emperor Wu's direct disciple on the Cloud Continent. The 10 people selected from the 20 core disciples on the Hidden Fog Island were undoubtedly the elites among the core disciples. Among them, there were probably many powerhouses like Emperor Wu. At that moment, apart from Duan Lingtian and Zhou Di who could still maintain their calm, the 8 people including Song Ting and Zhong'an who were both Emperor Wu's direct disciples had a grave expression on their faces. At this moment, they finally realized that they would encounter a group of formidable opponents in the Hidden Fog martial competition. Soon after, Duan Lingtian and the rest settled down in a spacious mansion with the help of the 2 Inner Island disciples. There were many independent courtyards in the mansion. It was more than enough for the 11 of them to occupy a small courtyard each. Master, the Hidden Fog martial competition will begin in 3 months. If you and your disciples feel bored during these 3 months, you can go to the Hidden Fog City for a walk. The 2 Inner Island disciples said to Yang Hui before they left. Yang Hui nodded. If that's the case, we'll take our leave first. The 2 Inner Island disciples turned around and headed to the east of the Hidden Fog Island after bidding farewell to Yang Hui. Their mission was to receive an Emperor Wu powerhouse and the people he brought with him. As soon as they completed their mission, they could return to the east of the Hidden Fog Island to report. After reporting, they would no longer need to receive Emperor Wu powerhouses and his subordinates from the Cloud Continent. Other Inner Island disciples would receive the remaining Emperor Wu powerhouses and his subordinates who had yet to arrive. Not only are there natives of the Hidden Fog Island in the Hidden Fog City, but there's also Emperor Wu powerhouses who came from the Cloud Continent to settle down here. Interesting. Duan Lingtian sat cross-legged on the bed and muttered to himself, I'll take a walk in the Hidden Fog City in a few days. I'll also experience the Hidden Fog Island's culture. However, as an overseas Saint Island, the cultivation environment on the Hidden Fog Island is incomparable to the Cloud Continent. I feel like there might even be a supreme-grade origin stone mine under the Hidden Fog Island. Duan Lingtian speculated to himself as he sensed the rich heaven and earth origin energy on the Hidden Fog Island. A supreme-grade origin stone mine. All the origin stones produced by such a mine were supreme-grade origin stones without exception. There were even some supreme-grade origin stones with extremely high quality. Such a origin stone mine had never appeared on the Cloud Continent before. Although supreme-grade origin stones would appear on Cloud Continent, the supreme-grade origin stones on Cloud Continent were all from high-grade origin stone mines. The production was extremely small and could not compare to supreme-grade origin stone mines. However, even if he guessed that there was a supreme-grade origin stone mine under the hidden Fog Island, Duan Lingtian was not interested at all. In his opinion, the supreme-grade origin stones were merely a currency used to trade and a material used to inscribe inscriptions. As long as he had enough, he did not care how much he had. Since there might be a supreme-grade origin stone mine under the hidden Fog Island, then, the hidden Fog Island is a treasure land. There must be many rare minerals and medicinal herbs here. I'll make a trip to the hidden Fog City in a few days to see if I can gather the materials to refine a royal-grade spirit bow and arrow. As long as I have the materials, I'll be able to condense the royal-grade weapon fire and refine a royal-grade spirit bow and arrow when my cultivation base advances to the Emperor Wu stage. By then, I'll be able to use the royal-grade spirit bow and arrow to cultivate the colossal aerolite arrow that father left for me. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian made up his mind. Subsequently, he closed his eyes again and cultivated in peace. 9 Dragons War Sovereign Technique, Divine Dragon Form. While he was cultivating, he did not forget to comprehend the 2 profundities. While his cultivation base was improving rapidly, the 2 profundities were improving as well. 10 days later, Duan Lingtian woke up. I'm only half a step away from the Emperor Wu stage. Give me some more time and I'll definitely be able to break through successfully. The moment Duan Lingtian opened his eyes, a gleam flashed across his eyes. He was brimming with confidence. He had begun to break through the bottleneck of the Emperor Wu stage during his cultivation this time. He was only 1 step away from successfully breaking through the final bottleneck. Once he broke through, he would be like a carp leaping over the Dragon's Gate and soaring into the sky. Now, I'll make a trip to the hidden Fog City. Chapter 1271. On the way to hidden Fog City, a voice resonated in Duan Lingtian's mind. Boy, what time is it now? I can see that your soul is almost fully recovered. It was Wang Ba's voice. My soul is almost fully recovered. Duan Lingtian did not answer Wang Ba. His eyes lit up immediately. In other words, my lost memory is almost fully recovered? Yes. Wang Ba replied before he continued to say, Boy, you haven't answered me yet. It's been almost a year since you said I'd need a year to recover my memory. Duan Lingtian replied. It's just as I expected. Wang Ba finally understood. He said smugly, Boy, are you convinced now? In my opinion, it's the stupidest thing you did when you went to Ling Xian Peak and asked that spirit profound Emperor Wu for help. Duan Lingtian ignored Wang Ba when he heard his smug words. However, he soon recalled something and could not help but ask, Bastard. How much do you know about Saint-grade martial tactics? The Saint-grade martial tactic is rare here. In the Dao martial Saint land, almost all those above the innate void restoration stage cultivate the Saint-grade martial tactic. Wang Ba said nonchalantly, in the Dao martial Saint land, only Saint-grade martial tactics can greatly affect a person's strength. Mortal-grade martial tactics are just some superficial skills. They're only nice to look at but useless. Mortal-grade martial tactics. Duan Lingtian was stunned. What's that? The martial skills on the mortal continent are the mortal-grade martial tactics. Wang Ba said again. The martial skills on the cloud continent are mortal-grade martial tactics. The corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched when he heard that. According to Wang Ba, the martial skills on Cloud Continent, no matter if it was yellow rank martial skills, profound rank martial skills, earth rank martial skills, or heaven rank martial skills, they were all common grade martial skills. Moreover, in Wang Ba's eyes, the common grade martial tactics were just some fancy tricks that were useless. Fake? Aren't you going a little overboard? Our cloud continent's martial skills, especially high-grade heaven rank martial skills, can still raise one's strength by a lot. Duan Lingtian said with some dissatisfaction. What a joke. Along the way, he had seriously studied and cultivated the various martial skills that came with the 9 Dragons War Sovereign technique. It wasn't easy for him to achieve what he had today. But now, Wang Ba's words had negated his many years of hard work. Naturally, he was unwilling to accept this. What? Are you still not convinced? Wang Ba snorted. Boy, it's good that you haven't come into contact with the Saint Grade martial tactic yet. Once you come into contact with the Saint Grade martial tactic, you'll know that the mortal grade martial tactic you came into contact with in the past is just a joke. Is it really that exaggerated? Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and asked in a deep voice. Even until now, he was still unwilling to admit that the mortal grade martial tactic was just a superficial skill. Let me put it this way. Even the best mortal grade martial tactic in your mortal continent can only raise a martial artist's strength by 10%, right? Wang Ba asked, 10%? Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. The martial skills that he cultivated could be considered as the best martial skills in the Cloud Continent. However, even if those martial skills had broken through to the perfection stage, it would only raise his strength by 10%. Based on what you're saying, the Saint Grade martial tactic raises a martial artist's strength much more than the mortal grade martial tactic? Duan Lingtian asked. Of course. Wang Ba said matter-of-factly, even the lowest grade Saint Grade martial tactic raises a martial artist's strength by at least 20%. The lowest grade Saint Grade martial tactic raises a martial artist's strength by at least 20%? Duan Lingtian frowned. Is that true? Such an increase was twice as good as the heaven rank advanced martial tactic that he mastered. Humph. When you arrive at the Dao martial saint land in the future and cultivate the Saint Grade martial tactic, you'll naturally know that I'm not lying. Wang Ba snorted. Why do we have to wait until we arrive at the Dao martial saint land? Didn't you call yourself a saint stage powerhouse or something? Don't tell me you've never cultivated a Saint Grade martial tactic before. Duan Lingtian asked one after another. When Duan Lingtian reached this point, he wanted to continue but was interrupted by Wang Ba. Boy, I know what you're thinking. Don't you want me to teach you the Saint Grade martial tactic? Unfortunately, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Wang Ba said. Humph. Saint Stage Powerhouse. You're not even willing to teach me a mere Saint Grade martial tactic. How stingy. Duan Lingtian snorted and said with dissatisfaction. Boy, I'm not being stingy. You should know that the Saint Grade martial tactic is different from the mortal grade martial tactic. Mortal rank martial arts could be taught to others through verbal communication. However, the Saint Grade martial tactic can't be taught. If you want to cultivate the Saint Grade martial tactic, you'll have to go through the Saint Token. Wang Ba said. Saint Token? Duan Lingtian was puzzled. At the same time, a thought flashed in his mind, and a jade token appeared. It was the jade token that his cheapskate father had left him. There's a set of Saint Grade martial tactic in the jade token. Could it be that the jade token was the Saint Token? Soon, as Wang Ba continued to speak, Duan Lingtian knew he had guessed correctly. The jade token that his cheapskate father had left him was the Saint Token. The Saint Grade martial tactic usually exists in the Saint Token. If you want to cultivate a certain Saint Grade martial tactic, you'll have to obtain the Saint Token that contains the Saint Grade martial tactic. Wang Ba said, because of this, even if I know more Saint Grade martial tactics, I won't be able to teach you. You'll only be able to cultivate the Saint Grade martial tactic if you obtain the Saint Token. As long as you infuse your spiritual energy into the Saint Token, you'll be able to read the Saint Grade martial tactic in it and cultivate it step by step. When you've cultivated the Saint grade martial tactic in the Saint token to its peak, the Saint token will be useless to you. Wang Ba continued to say. Is there a need to leave the Saint token until the Saint grade martial tactic is cultivated to its peak? Duan Lingtian frowned. Doesn't it say that as long as I infuse my spiritual energy into the Saint token, all the information about the Saint grade martial tactic in the Saint token will be integrated into my mind as though it's taking root and sprouting? Where did you hear that from? Wang Ba said disdainfully, you must have been fooled. Boy, I'll teach you a good lesson today. No matter how high your comprehension is, it's impossible for you to absorb all the information about the Saint grade martial tactic in the Saint token at once. Everyone has to rely on the Saint token step by step to cultivate according to the information regarding the Saint grade martial tactic in it. In the era I came from, it was rumored that no matter how high one's comprehension was, it would still take 2 to 3 years to completely absorb the information in a Saint token that contained the lowest level of Saint grade martial tactic. Of course, when he fully absorbs the information in the Saint token, he'll have cultivated the Saint grade martial tactic in it to its peak. Wang Ba said. Can't he first memorize the information about the Saint grade martial tactic in the Saint token before he slowly cultivates it? Duan Ling Tian's frown deepened, and his tone was filled with urgency. Impossible. Wang Ba said firmly, when anyone reads the Saint token with their spiritual energy, they'll only be able to see part of the information about the Saint grade martial tactic. They'll only be able to see the information after they've comprehended and cultivated the Saint grade martial tactic successfully. In this way, step by step, when you've completely read the information about the Saint grade martial tactic in the Saint token, you'll have cultivated the Saint grade martial tactic to its peak. Wang Ba explained patiently. There should be exceptions, right? For example, some Saint tokens can read the information about the Saint grade martial tactic in one go and memorize it in one's mind before one can cultivate it slowly. Duan Lingtian asked. It's impossible for there to be such a Saint token. Boy, I don't care who told you this. I only know that you've been fooled. Wang Ba said nonchalantly. Fooled. Duan Lingtian did not comment on Wang Ba's words. However, he had no choice but to believe Wang Ba's words. The problem was, he had indeed memorized all the information about the Saint grade martial tactic, the colossal aerolite arrow, in the Saint token that his father had left for him without missing a single word. Although he had not officially started cultivating the colossal aerolite arrow yet. However, even if he threw away the Saint token that contained the colossal aerolite arrow, he would still be able to cultivate the colossal aerolite arrow successfully. This was because all the information about the colossal aerolite arrow had been imprinted in his mind the moment he infused his spiritual energy into the Saint token. It was as though it had taken root in his mind. He could not forget it even if he wanted to. Could it be? Could it be that only I have this special ability? I only need to infuse my spiritual energy into the Saint token to successfully memorize the information about the Saint grade martial tactic in it. In the end, Duan Lingtian could only make such a guess. The more he thought about it, the more he felt it was possible. This was because according to Wang Ba, it was almost impossible for such a situation to happen. It'll be great if I can get another Saint token. I can verify if I really have this special ability or not. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. If he really had this special ability, no matter what Saint token it was in the future, as long as his spiritual energy could reach it, he would be able to take all the Saint grade martial tactic in it for himself. Just the thought of it made him excited. Huh. Soon after, Duan Lingtian returned to his senses and suppressed the excitement in his heart. This was because the silhouette of a big city had already appeared in his sight. It was faintly discernible behind the faint gloomy fog. It was like a jade palace in a fairyland. So this is the hidden fog city. Just as Duan Lingtian was studying the big city that was faintly discernible in front of him, he saw 3 beautiful figures that were also covered by the fog in the distance. They were heading straight to the city in front. It was obvious they were the 3 women who were going to enter the city. Their backs. Why do they look so familiar? Chapter 1272. The two familiar silhouettes gradually disappeared into the hidden fog city. Duan Lingtian only snapped back to his senses when he saw them. Who are they? Duan Lingtian frowned with confusion written all over his face. At the same time, he tossed everything else to the back of his mind and chased after them. It was as though he wanted to see who the two familiar silhouettes were. He had a feeling that the two silhouettes were very familiar. If it was just the silhouette that gave him a familiar feeling, he could say that he was seeing things or that he was overthinking. However, the appearance of the two familiar silhouettes seemed to be telling him that it was not a coincidence. Perhaps, he really knew the two beautiful ladies. At the very least, he knew them in the past and they seemed to have a special relationship. At this moment, he could even feel it clearly. His heart had begun to tremble unknowingly. The trembling became more and more intense as though his heart was about to jump out of his chest. However, when he arrived in front of the hidden fog city and entered the city, he did not see the two ladies again. They seemed to be from the southern island as well. In other words, they and the green-clad lady must be brought here by some Emperor Wu or Demon Emperor powerhouse from Cloud Continent. Duan Lingtian speculated secretly. A few days ago, when he had just arrived at the Hidden Fog Island, he had heard about it from the two Hidden Fog Island's inner island disciples who had received them. The southern island was where the Hidden Fog Island received their guests. The Hidden Fog Island's recent guests were the group of Emperor Wu powerhouses and Demon Emperor powerhouses from Cloud Continent, as well as the disciples they had brought to participate in the Hidden Fog martial competition. The Hidden Fog City was extremely lively. When one entered, it felt no different from some of the bustling big cities on Cloud Continent. It was packed with people everywhere. Duan Lingtian walked around a few times but to no avail. He could not find the two ladies who gave him a familiar feeling. Forget it. If they're here to participate in the Hidden Fog martial competition, I'll see them again sooner or later. I'll know if I know them or not by then. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Currently, there was still some time before the Hidden Fog martial competition would begin on the Hidden Fog Island. I'll walk around and see if I can gather the materials needed to refine the Royal Grade Spirit Archery set. I'll definitely be able to break through to the Emperor Wu stage before the Hidden Fog martial competition begins. At that time, as long as I can refine the Royal Grade Spirit Archery set and cultivate the Saint Grade martial tactic, the Colossal Aerolite Arrow, my strength will definitely improve. Ever since Duan Lingtian found out how powerful the Saint Grade martial tactic was from Wang Ba, he was eager to cultivate the Colossal Aerolite Arrow as soon as possible. As long as my strength increases, I'll be able to obtain a good ranking in the Hidden Fog martial competition. A good ranking means I'll be able to obtain more Saint Stones. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed. As long as he obtained the Holy Stone, his path would be much smoother after he broke through to the Emperor Wu realm. After all, the Saint Stone was an item that could speed up the cultivation speed of a powerhouse like Emperor Wu. It was extremely precious and was a priceless treasure. His heart was filled with desire for the Saint Stone. At that moment, Duan Lingtian quickened his steps to prepare the materials. At the same time, in a medicine store on the side of the main road that Duan Lingtian was about to pass by, three beautiful figures stood there. Two women who were as beautiful as flowers were accompanying another green-clad woman. The lady in green was looking at a pill bottle that contained pills. Sister Fei, it's just as you thought. Those two annoying fellows really didn't dare to flirt with us after we called Senior Sister Sue. The pretty girl from a humble family, who appeared to be pure and lovely, said to the purple-clothed girl beside her. The lady in purple smiled lightly when she heard that. Her smile seemed to be able to charm everyone, causing everything around her to pale in comparison. In order to get rid of the two annoying flies, she had purposely brought along their senior sister from Yuhan Valley, Emperor Wu's direct disciple, Su Rong. Because of Su Rong's presence, the two flies did not dare to approach them, let alone flirt with them. The purple-clad woman was none other than Li Fei. The pure and innocent lady standing next to her was Ke. Suddenly, Li Fei's gaze subconsciously swept over the outside of the medicine shop. There was a purple figure walking past in a hurry. She did not see it clearly as she was not prepared. However, although she did not see it clearly, her delicate body could not help but tremble. Bad guy. That was because that figure was simply too familiar to her. That figure had appeared in her dreams many times in the middle of the night. It had haunted her so much that she almost went crazy. Sister Fei, did you get the wrong person? Why would young master? Ke glanced outside the medicine shop, but she did not see the purple figure who had just walked past in a hurry. She thought Li Fei was hallucinating because she missed Duan Lingtian too much. In her opinion, although her young master was outstanding, it was impossible for him to be here. Where was this place? The Hidden Fog Island. As an overseas saint island, the Hidden Fog Island was located outside the North Sea of Cloud Continent. Even if a powerhouse like Emperor Wu traveled through the North Sea from Cloud Continent to the Hidden Fog Island, it would still be risky. A powerhouse like Emperor Wu with an ordinary ability might even die on the way. This was because there were many ferocious demon beasts in the North Sea. Among these demon beasts, there was no lack of demon emperors. It was all thanks to the protection of their current master, Martial Emperor Yuhan, that they were able to come here safely. Her young master was here. If she did not see it with her own eyes, she would not have believed it. Whoosh! As if a gust of wind had blown past, Ke's soft long hair fluttered in the wind, setting off her almost perfect face. At this moment, she seemed to have transformed into a fairy who had fallen from the sky to the mortal world. Sister Fei, When Ke snapped back to reality, she noticed that Li Fei had left her side, left the medicine shop, and chased after her. Ke immediately chased after her. As their senior sister, Su Rong was the first to react to the sudden departure of the two girls. She quickly caught up with Ke and saw Li Fei at the same time. She was shocked to see that her junior sister Li Fei, who was usually well-behaved, was blocking someone's path. It was a man dressed in purple. He stood there as still as a mountain. That back, looking at the back of the man in purple, before she could see his face clearly, Ke's delicate body began to tremble violently. At this moment, she was rooted to the ground. Her legs seemed to be filled with lead, and she could not move an inch. She was very familiar with the back of the man in front of her. Bad guy, it's really you. At this moment, Li Fei, who was blocking the way of the man in purple, ignored the surrounding onlookers and slowly walked towards the man in purple. Her beautiful face, which could be said to be capable of causing the downfall of a nation, was filled with uncontrollable joy. In addition, there were also tears of joy flowing down her face. How many years had it been? She finally saw him again. Her man, the man that she, Li Fei, had chosen for her life. She could give up everything for him. Including her life. Bad guy, you. Why are you here? After a while, Li Fei arrived in front of the man in purple, who was Duan Lingtian. She stared at Duan Lingtian and asked in a trembling voice. Who are you? As the voice sounded, the smile on Li Fei's face froze. It completely froze. This voice came from Duan Lingtian, who was standing in front of her. Currently, Duan Lingtian was looking at Li Fei with a perplexed expression. This woman gave him an extremely familiar feeling, but to the current him, she was an extremely unfamiliar woman. You don't recognize me? In an instant, Li Fei's face became extremely pale. Her delicate body, which had just stabilized, began to tremble violently again. 2 lines of tears fell from her face, like a pear blossom in the rain. She never expected this. Seeing the man of her dreams again, he did not seem to recognize her. Did he forget about her? At this moment, Li Fei only felt like her heart was being twisted by a knife. Intense pain and discomfort spread throughout her body in the blink of an eye, making it difficult for her to breathe. Wah! Finally, Li Fei could not take it anymore. Her blood rushed to her heart, and she spat out a mouthful of congested blood. Her face became even paler, and she looked so pitiful that it made one's heart ache. Sister Fei, At this moment, Ke finally regained her senses. She hurriedly flew out and supported Li Fei, who was on the verge of collapsing. Ke. Baddie, he doesn't recognize me. Li Fei, who was supported by Ke, said in a trembling voice. It was as if she was shivering in the cold, and she could not even speak properly. Ke heard this, and her eyes reddened as she looked at Duan Lingtian. Before she could speak, Duan Lingtian felt an inexplicable pain in his heart. He reached out and clutched his chest. His face was slightly pale as he looked at the two women in front of him. Who are you? Why do I feel that you two are so familiar? And, why does my heart ache? Duan Lingtian's voice began to tremble when he reached the end of his sentence. Young master, have you forgotten about Ke as well? Ke's eyes turned even redder when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. Two streams of tears flowed down her pure and lovely face. The onlookers felt a wave of heartache when they saw this. This brat actually made these two girls so sad. One look and I can tell he's a heartless man. A person like him who doesn't appreciate his fortune should be struck by lightning. Many of the onlookers glared at Duan Lingtian. They were filled with righteous indignation. I've lost my memory. While the crowd was criticizing Duan Lingtian, Li Fei and Ke looked at Duan Lingtian in despair. Duan Lingtian looked at Li Fei and Ke apologetically and said with a wry smile. Amnesia. Chapter 1273. At this moment, both Li Fei and Ke felt a huge difference in their hearts. This sort of drop was no different from ascending from hell to heaven. Their man had not forgotten them. He had lost his memory. Scoundrel, how did you lose your memory? Young master, what happened? Li Fei and Ke looked at Duan Lingtian and asked anxiously. When they found out that their man did not mean to forget them, the haze in their hearts disappeared. All that was left was worry. Duan Lingtian's heart trembled violently as he looked at the two women who were looking at him anxiously. He could tell that these two women who gave him a familiar and intimate feeling were worried for him from the bottom of their hearts. Their feelings were sincere, and there was no pretense at all. I used to have such confidence in the past. At this moment, Duan Lingtian desperately wanted to recover the remaining part of his memory. That part of his memory was also the most important part of his memory. Although he had recovered most of his memory, he had not recovered the most important part. This included the two women who seemed to have an unusual relationship with him. Can you tell me what was the relationship between the two of you in the past? I feel that the two of you are very familiar and intimate. It's as if you're my family. Duan Lingtian stared at Li Fei and Ke as he asked softly. At this moment, even Duan Lingtian himself did not notice that when he spoke, his tone had become gentle. Even his gaze was as gentle as water. We're your fiancés. Li Fei looked at Duan Lingtian expectantly as though she wanted to see if Duan Lingtian would remember anything because of her reminder. Fiancés. Duan Lingtian was stunned. Wow! The surrounding crowd was in an uproar as well. These two outstanding women are actually his fiancés. Is there any justice in this world? This is the first time I've seen such beauties in my life, and there are even two of them. However, both of them are his fiancés. If I can replace him, even if I die in a month, I'm willing to do it. A group of onlookers looked at Duan Lingtian with envy and jealousy, wishing they could replace him. He's junior sister Li and junior sister Ke's fiancé. Not far away, Su Rong stood there, staring at Duan Lingtian. To be more precise, she was staring at Duan Lingtian's back. Her emotions surged. As far as she knew. The reason her master, Emperor Wu Yuhan, took Li Fei and Ke as his direct disciples was because of their fiancés. Of course, she did not know what her master was trying to do. However, she could guess that her master was trying to get something from Li Fei and Ke's fiancé. Other than that, she could not think of any other reason. Both of you are my fiancés. After a long while, Duan Lingtian finally regained his senses. After taking a deep breath, he asked. Although he believed Li Fei's words, he still wanted to confirm it. However, he still wanted to confirm it because this was truly a shocking piece of news to him. It turned out that he already had a fiancé, and two of them at that. Yes. Li Fei nodded. Even though she had admitted that she was Duan Lingtian's fiancés in front of so many people, her expression did not change. It was as though she did not care about the people around her. Ke was much less thick-skinned. Her face was already flushed red as though it was about to bleed. After receiving Li Fei's confirmation, Duan Lingtian did not know what to say for a moment. Although he knew that the two ladies in front of him were his fiancées, he could not remember anything about them. At this moment, he only felt that the two ladies were very familiar and affectionate. As for what they had experienced together, he could not recall at all. Let's find a place. Both of you can tell me about our past. Let's see if I can remember anything. Duan Lingtian looked around. He felt uncomfortable being treated like a monkey by a group of people. He immediately looked at Li Fei and Ke and said, I have many things to ask you as well. Li Fei quickly nodded. Although Ke did not say anything, she obediently nodded as well. As usual, she obeyed Duan Lingtian's words unconditionally. Many years had passed. Whether it was Li Fei or Ke, although their strength had undergone earth-shattering changes, their feelings for Duan Lingtian had not changed at all. Duan Lingtian was the man they had chosen in their lives. He was also the only man they had chosen. Junior sister Li, junior sister Ke. Is this the fiancé that both of you often talk about in the past? Right at this moment, a voice sounded, causing Duan Lingtian, Li Fei, and Ke, who were just about to leave, to stop in their tracks. They looked in unison at the person who stood out along with the voice. Senior sister Su. Li Fei and Ke quickly greeted the person who had spoken. Duan Lingtian focused his gaze and saw it was a green-clad woman. She was the third figure he had seen outside of Hidden Fog City. Apart from Li Fei and Ke, she was the other person he had seen outside of Hidden Fog City. Scoundrel, she's senior sister Su. Li Fei looked at Duan Lingtian and introduced him. Senior sister Su. Although Duan Lingtian could not recall the past between him, Li Fei, and Ke, since he had confirmed that both of them were his fiancés, he did not dare to slight their senior sister. I only know that you're junior sister Li and junior sister Ke's fiancé. How should I address you? Su Rong looked at Duan Lingtian and asked with a smile. Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded at Su Rong. Duan Lingtian. I'll remember that. However, according to junior sister Li Fei and junior sister Ke, you should be in the southern outer land of Cloud Continent. Su Rong looked at Duan Lingtian and asked curiously, why are you here? Hidden Fog Martial Competition. Duan Lingtian replied. I see. A hint of surprise flashed in Su Rong's eyes before she asked again, which Emperor Stage powerhouse on Cloud Continent did you come with? Spirit Profound Emperor Wu. Duan Lingtian replied. Su Rong nodded and smiled at Duan Lingtian before she looked at Li Fei and Ke. Junior sister Li, junior sister Ke. You haven't seen each other for many years. You should catch up. I'll explain to Master, Su Rong said. Thank you. Thank you, senior sister Su. Upon hearing this, Li Fei and Ke's eyes lit up immediately. They quickly thanked her. All right. I won't disturb you two from catching up. I'll head back to the southern island first. Soaring left after saying her goodbyes. After Soaring left, the onlookers began to whisper among themselves. So, they're from Cloud Continent. And they're here for the Hidden Fog Martial Competition. They must be brought here by Cloud Continent's Emperor Wu and Demon Emperor powerhouses. At once, many people guessed the identities of Duan Lingtian and the other three. Rascal, let's go. Li Fei held Ker's hand and looked at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded. The three of them were about to leave when they were stopped by a loud shout. Stop right there. The loud shout was like a bolt from the blue. It shocked the people on the scene so much that they snapped back to their senses. Their eyes shifted to the source of the voice in unison. Two middle-aged men appeared along with the loud shout. The two middle-aged men walked in the air aggressively. It was obvious that they did not come with good intentions. Inner Island disciples. Many people saw the identity tokens hanging on the waists of the two middle-aged men. Their faces turned solemn as fear filled their eyes. It's you. Li Fei frowned. There was a hint of disgust in her eyes when she looked at the two middle-aged men. What are you trying to do? Ker's face turned grave. The two Hidden Fog Island's Inner Island disciples who appeared were the two Inner Island disciples who had been pestering them ever since they arrived on the Hidden Fog Island. Whether it was Ker or Li Fei, they hated these two Inner Island disciples from the bottom of their hearts. Duan Lingtian, on the other hand, merely glanced at the two Inner Island disciples indifferently. His gaze was indifferent as though he did not care about them at all. I was wondering why the two junior sisters were so heartless to us. It turns out that they already have a fiancé. The two Inner Island disciples approached Duan Lingtian and the other two. They did not respond to Ker. Instead, they studied Duan Lingtian from head to toe. One of them said in a sarcastic tone. The two junior sisters are so beautiful that they're capable of causing the downfall of a city. I say, you're just a gigolo. What do you have to be their fiancé? The other person looked at Duan Lingtian with jealousy and said sarcastically. The two Inner Island disciples had been following Li Fei and Ker ever since they left the southern island. It was because Soaring was following them that they did not dare to get close to them. However, who would have thought that they would witness a scene that enraged them on the streets of the Hidden Fog City not long after they followed the two ladies to the city? The two beauties that they coveted already had a fiancé. Moreover, it was the same person. Especially when they saw that the two ladies' fiancé was just a gigolo, they could no longer suppress their anger. Jealous, they showed themselves one after another. What right did he have? He was just a gigolo, and his looks were not bad. How could he possess two peerless beauties? They refused to accept this. Moreover, these two beauties were the ones that they had their eyes on. They felt extremely humiliated. My two junior sisters. In my opinion, this kind of pretty boy is mostly good-looking but useless. If you're looking for a man, you should look for a man who can protect you and give you a sense of security. The Inner Island disciple who spoke first glanced at Duan Lingtian in disdain before looking at Li Fei and Ker. He reminded them hypocritically. Who are you to us? What does it have to do with you what kind of man we look for? Li Fei sneered. Chapter 1274. Ker followed suit. She stood on the other side of Duan Lingtian and reached out to hold Duan Lingtian's arm. However, she was shy, so she did not lean on Duan Lingtian's shoulder like Li Fei did. For a moment, Duan Lingtian only felt two waves of fresh fragrance assailing his nostrils, causing him to feel relaxed and happy. Ker and Li Fei's provocative actions made the onlookers look at the two Inner Island disciples strangely, as if they wanted to know how they would react. The two Inner Island disciples' faces were as dark as they could get. Let's go. Duan Lingtian called out to the two girls beside him softly. They then stepped into the air and prepared to leave. However, they were blocked by the two Inner Island disciples as soon as they stepped into the air. What are you doing? Li Fei asked coldly with a murderous look on her pretty face. She had finally reunited with her man and wanted to find a quiet place to ask him about his recent experiences. However, she was blocked by the two flies in front of her. It was hard for her not to be angry. Ker's face was dark as well. Scram! Duan Lingtian looked at the two inner island disciples in the eye for the first time and said nonchalantly. Although his voice was not loud, it was filled with an unquestionable tone. You've got quite the temper. One of the inner island disciples sneered and looked at Duan Lingtian mockingly. Boy, I'd like to see today. How can a gigolo like you be the fiancé of our two junior sisters? That's right. If you want to get the beauties, you'll have to prove to us that you have the ability. The other inner island disciple chimed in. Who do you think you are? He's the man that both of us have chosen. What does that have to do with you? Why should we prove it to you? Li Fei sneered. Young master asked you to scram. Didn't you hear him? Even Ker, who had always been good-tempered, looked extremely upset. She glared at the two inner island disciples and said coldly. For a moment, the onlookers looked at the two inner island disciples with strange looks. When the two inner island disciples sensed the strange gazes that were directed at them from the surroundings, their expressions turned even graver. The way they looked at Duan Lingtian turned even more vicious. Junior sister Li Fei, you can't say that. There are many things that you don't know when you're in the situation. But as onlookers, we can see through you. One of the inner island disciples stared at Duan Lingtian with a cold gleam in his eyes and said word by word, this gigolo doesn't deserve all of you. Don't be fooled by his appearance. Before Li Fei could respond, the other inner island disciple looked at Duan Lingtian with a smirk on his face. How dare you ask us to scram? I'd like to see what you're made of to be chosen by our two junior sisters and become their fiancé. The moment the inner island disciple's words left his mouth, the robe on his body suddenly expanded. The origin energy in his body continued to rise and turned into a milky white flame in the blink of an eye. As soon as the milky white flame appeared, it turned into a multicolored energy. It was apparent that apart from unleashing his origin energy, this inner island disciple had also communicated and unleashed the various profundities that he had comprehended. He stood there majestically. That's right. I'd like to see what he's made of as well. The other inner island disciple regained his senses and did the same. The energy in his body also surged and his aura was majestic. He's the same as us. He's also a guest of the hidden fog island. If you dare to attack him, Emperor Wu behind him won't let you go. Li Fei's expression changed drastically when she saw that the two inner island disciples were about to attack. She threatened them coldly. Although the heaven and earth energy here would not form a heaven and earth phenomenon because of the energy that surged out from the two of them, she knew it. She knew very well. She was not a match for these two hidden fog island inner island disciples, and neither was Ker. As for her fiancé, Duan Lingtian, although he could come here with a powerhouse like Emperor Wu, it was very likely that he was just here to join in the fun like them. Even if he was not here to join in the fun, he would at most be an ordinary disciple of Emperor Wu. He would not have the confidence to defeat these two hidden fog island inner island disciples who were comparable to Emperor Wu's disciples. As for becoming Emperor Wu's direct disciple, she did not dare to think about it. She and Ker had encountered many fortuitous encounters along the way, but they were still on the 7th and 8th level martial monarch stage. They had not even reached the 9th level martial monarch stage yet. Subconsciously, she did not think that her man would be much more powerful than them. Don't worry, junior sister Li Fei. We just want to spar with him. We won't take his life. One of the inner island disciples smiled. It was a bright smile. The more Li Fei behaved like this, the more he felt that Li Fei was guilty. Li Fei was guilty because Li Fei knew that her fiancé's ability was not as good as his. He could not help but feel a little smug. Although we won't take his life. Fists and legs have no eyes. If we accidentally destroy his dantian, I'm sure that Emperor Wu powerhouse behind him won't be able to say anything. Another inner island disciple said. His words revealed an important piece of information. Even if he could not kill Duan Lingtian, he would destroy Duan Lingtian's dantian and turn Duan Lingtian into a cripple. In his opinion, as long as this pretty boy in front of him lost his cultivation base, Li Fei and Ke would definitely not acknowledge him as their fiancé no matter how good-looking he was. At that time, he would have another chance to get either Li Fei or Ke. Ha! That's right. The inner island disciple laughed heartily. His laughter was filled with pride. How dare you! At this moment, Li Fei and Ke let go of Duan Lingtian's shoulders in tacit understanding. They took a step forward and stood in front of Duan Lingtian, protecting Duan Lingtian behind them. If you want to hurt my, Li Fei's man, you'll have to step over my, Li Fei's, dead body first. The origin energy in Li Fei's body skyrocketed. Various profundities followed like shadows. She stared at the two inner island disciples coldly, showing off her heroism. Although Ke did not say anything, her actions undoubtedly showed that Li Fei's words were her words. A winner in life. A winner in life. This Duan Lingtian is a winner in life. Nobody knew when, but someone could not help but exclaim in a low voice. His voice was filled with envy. When Duan Lingtian introduced himself to Su Rong, many people in the surroundings had already remembered Duan Lingtian's name. Therefore, many people knew his name. He's indeed a winner in life. Not only does he have two peerless beauties as his fiancées, but his two fiancées are even willing to die for him. It's already a blessing to have one such woman in one's lifetime. However, he has two. How enviable! All the men in the crowd looked at Duan Lingtian with red eyes. Flames of jealousy were burning in their hearts. When the two inner island disciples saw Li Fei and Ke standing in front of Duan Lingtian resolutely to protect him, looking as though they were ready to fight to the death with them, their faces turned extremely grave. Would they dare to kill Li Fei and Ke? The answer was no. If they were in a secluded place, perhaps they could kill them to prevent Emperor Wu, who was behind Li Fei and Ke, from finding out what they had done. However, with so many people watching, they would not dare to kill Li Fei and Ke even if they were given 100 guts. Both of them looked at each other and saw the dilemma in each other's eyes. However, one of them's eyes lit up very quickly. He seemed to have thought of a way to deal with it. Li Fei and Ke's faces turned grave when they noticed this person's gaze. Although they did not know what the other person was thinking, they could not help but feel worried. What a gigolo! You're destined to hide behind women and live off them for the rest of your life. The inner island disciple whose eyes lit up immediately looked at Duan Lingtian and chuckled as he mocked him sharply. As if they had discussed this beforehand, the other inner island disciple added, "If I were you, I'd dig a hole and hide in it. As a man, I can't afford to lose face like this. If you ask me, he's not a man at all." The former continued to agree. As the two inner island disciples spoke, Li Fei and Ke's faces darkened even more. Bastards, ignore them. That's right, young master. They're provoking you on purpose. Ignore them. The two girls immediately turned to look at Duan Lingtian and reminded him. However, although the two inner island disciples were provoking Duan Lingtian on purpose, the surrounding people's gazes all fell on Duan Lingtian at the same time. These gazes were filled with sarcasm, mockery, disdain, and disdain. No one looked up to a man who hid behind women. Coward. Trash. The two inner island disciples added fuel to the fire as if they wanted to see the world in chaos. Their gazes toward Duan Lingtian were filled with contempt. To be able to reach such a level as a man, you can be considered the only one. If you ask me, you might as well hide behind the women. It'll be safer that way. The two inner island disciples saw Duan Lingtian standing there with his face unchanged and indifferent. They mocked him one after another and trampled on Duan Lingtian's dignity wantonly. They only had one goal: to provoke Duan Lingtian. To make Duan Lingtian take the initiative to attack them. That way, they would have the opportunity to destroy Duan Lingtian's Dantian and make Duan Lingtian a complete cripple. You too. Are you done barking? Finally, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Duan Lingtian made a move. He stretched out his pinky finger and picked at his ear unhurriedly as he said lazily, "This is the first time I've seen a dog that barks so loudly." Duan Lingtian emphasized the word dog in the end. Wow! Duan Lingtian was quiet, but when he did, the crowd was in an uproar. The gazes of contempt that were looking at Duan Lingtian now fell on the two inner island disciples at the same time, as if they were waiting to see how the two inner island disciples would react. Chapter 1275. Dogs? Did this gigolo just call them dogs? All of a sudden, the two inner island disciples felt a surge of anger rushing to their heads, causing them to almost lose their minds. Boy, you're courting death. Both of them were enraged. The energy in their bodies surged, causing turbulence in the air. With a series of thunderous air explosions, billowing air billows raged. It seemed to have turned into a gust of wind that swept in all directions. The two inner island disciples who had almost lost their minds no longer cared about Li Fei and Ke. Their robes billowed as they moved and disappeared. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two figures that were like bolts of lightning soared through the sky and headed straight for Duan Lingtian. They've made their move. Although most of the onlookers could not see what the two inner island disciples were doing, their sudden disappearance made them realize that they had made their move. Something interesting is about to happen. Many people were eager to see the world in chaos. They were afraid that they would be caught in the crossfire, so they retreated while observing the situation from afar. At the same time, Duan Lingtian moved leisurely in the face of the two inner island disciples who were coming at him menacingly. As soon as he moved, he appeared in front of Li Fei and Ke, who were standing side by side. He shielded the two girls behind him. Li Fei and Ke, who had planned to fight the two inner island disciples to the death, only saw a flash in front of their eyes before a familiar figure appeared in front of them. So fast. For a moment, they were shocked. You're like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. When they regained their senses and were shocked by Duan Lingtian's speed, Duan Lingtian's voice resonated in their ears again. It was extremely indifferent. Bang! Ah, at the same time, they heard a loud bang, followed by a scream. No. To be exact, there were two screams. Since the two screams came at the same time, it was hard to tell whether it was from one or two people. When they looked in the direction of the sound, they saw the bodies of the two inner island disciples flying out like arrows and landing heavily on the ground. The power in their bodies was instantly annihilated, as if it had never existed. No. No. My Dantian, my Dantian. You. You are so ruthless. You're so cruel. Soon, a group of onlookers, including Li Fei and Ke, saw the two inner island disciples rolling on the ground and screaming in agony. In the end, the two inner island disciples gritted their teeth and glared at the purple-clad young man in the air. It was as if they had a grudge against him for killing their fathers and stealing their wives. Their Dantian was destroyed. At this time, many people came to their senses and were shocked. Earlier, they said that they were going to cripple someone's Dantian. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, their Dantian would be crippled instead? This Duan Lingtian's strength is truly terrifying. From beginning to end, I didn't see his movements clearly. Me too. I've been watching him, but I didn't see him make a move. There was an uproar among the onlookers. When they looked at Duan Lingtian again, their gazes were filled with fear and respect. At this time, Li Fei and Ke looked at each other and saw the shock and horror in each other's eyes. Let's go. Duan Lingtian ignored the onlookers' fearful gazes and the two inner island disciples' ferocious gazes. He turned around and called out to Li Fei and Ke. The two girls nodded obediently. At the same time, their eyes were filled with curiosity. They were curious about their man's experience all these years. Judging from the strength that their man had displayed earlier, his strength was definitely comparable to Emperor Wu's direct disciples on the Cloud Continent. Such strength was comparable to the Hidden Fog Island's core disciples. Naturally, it would be easy for him to cripple the two inner island disciples. When Duan Lingtian and the other two left, the onlookers looked at them respectfully. If Duan Lingtian wanted to, it would be easy for him to kill the two inner island disciples earlier. However, he did not do that. If he had killed the two inner island disciples, the news would definitely spread among the onlookers and even the Hidden Fog Island's senior officials. By then, the Hidden Fog Island's senior officials would definitely be furious. After all, it was undoubtedly a naked humiliation for the Hidden Fog Island's disciples to be killed on the Hidden Fog Island. Of course, this did not mean that Duan Lingtian was afraid of the Hidden Fog Island's senior officials. Even if he was no match for them, he could always escape. The Hidden Fog Island's senior officials might not be able to react in time. However, even if he managed to escape, it would mean that he would not be able to obtain the Saint Stone as the reward of the Hidden Fog martial competition. That kind of ending was not what he wanted. To him, the two inner island disciples' lives were far less important than the Saint Stone. Therefore, for the sake of the Saint Stone, he spared the two inner island disciples' lives and crippled their dantians, making them suffer a fate worse than death. What happened today was completely due to the provocation of the two inner island disciples. They even threatened to destroy his dantian in front of everyone. Therefore, his actions could be considered as self-defense. Even if the Hidden Fog Island's people were enraged, they would not dare to look for trouble with him openly. After all, their people were in the wrong. Just as Duan Lingtian, Li Fei, and Ke left, the two inner island disciples' eyes widened. They felt that the sky above their heads was about to collapse. Since their cultivation base had been crippled, they were destined to be mediocre in the future. When they thought of this, they clenched their teeth so hard that they almost broke their teeth as they looked at the three leaving figures. "I won't let you guys go. I won't let you guys go." The two inner island disciples kept roaring in their hearts. When the onlookers saw that Duan Lingtian and the other two's silhouettes had disappeared from their sight, they regained their senses one by one. After looking at the two inner island disciples with pity, they dispersed one after another. "I want him and those two cheese to die." After the two inner island disciples took out healing pills and consumed them, one of them said angrily while clenching his teeth, "We must find a way to take revenge." The other one said with his eyes wide open, "I swear I'm not human if I don't take revenge." The two of them looked at each other and ran out of the Hidden Fog City, heading straight to the east island of the Hidden Fog Island. On the other hand, Duan Lingtian brought Li Fei and Ke out of the Hidden Fog City. They only stopped when they arrived at the west side of the Hidden Fog City, above an empty forest. "Young master, you're so powerful." Just like before, Ke looked at Duan Lingtian with an expression of adoration, and her little face was flushed with excitement. "Scoundrel, how did you become so powerful? I thought Sister Ke and I had already surpassed you after so many years. I didn't expect you to still leave us far behind." Li Fei smiled wryly when she reached the end of her sentence. She felt that her previous thoughts were so childish. "Young master, how did you survive all these years?" Ke asked curiously. She was very interested in Duan Lingtian's experience all these years. Li Fei looked at Duan Lingtian as well. She was also interested in this. "All these years?" Upon hearing this, Duan Lingtian fell silent. After a while, he sighed and said, "Although I've recovered some of my memories since I lost them, there's still a part that I haven't recovered. That part of my memory is from the southern outer land on Cloud Continent. I only remember that I came from the southern outer land, but I don't know anything about what I've experienced in the southern outer land. When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his sentence, he looked at Li Fei and Kerr with hope in his eyes. I think the memories related to both of you and me should also be part of the memories from the southern outer land. Tell me about the past. Perhaps I'll be able to recall something. Duan Lingtian looked at Li Fei and Kerr as he said in a slightly urgent manner. He had always wanted to know about his past, but he could not recall it in the end. Now that he met these two women who gave him a familiar and intimate feeling and called themselves his fiancées, he wanted to know more about his past. He wanted to know how he had met them, how they had gotten together, and even how they had gotten engaged. Let Sister Kerr speak first. She knew you before I did. Li Fei looked at Kerr. Young master, the first time I met you was on the streets of Fresh Breeze Town. At that time, it was the darkest and most helpless time in my life. At that time, my mother, whom I relied on for survival, died. I felt like the sky was falling down. At that time, I only had one thought: no matter what, I had to bury my mother properly. She didn't enjoy any happiness when she was alive, so I couldn't let her suffer when she was no longer around. Therefore, for the sake of my mother, I sold my body on the streets to bury her. When Kerr reached this point, her face was already covered in tears. She looked at Duan Lingtian and smiled through her tears. It was also at that time that I met you, young master. At that time, young master was the first person who was willing to spend money to bury my mother without seeing my appearance. At that time, I knew that young master was a good person. So, after burying my mother, even if young master didn't intend to let me go with you, I still decided to go with you. Facts proved that my choice was correct. After arriving at the Li family in Fresh Breeze Town, young master and madam treated me like family and took care of me in every possible way. From that time on, I saw young master and madam as my only family in this world. As Kerr spoke slowly, her eyes revealed a trace of reminiscence. After that, I stayed at the Li family in Fresh Breeze Town. After staying there, I personally witnessed young master's rise all the way to becoming one of the most outstanding young talents in Fresh Breeze Town. Not only that, young master was later recommended by the Li family in Fresh Breeze Town to the Li family in Aurora City, which is also the original clan of the Li family in Fresh Breeze Town. It was also there that young master met Sister Fei. When she spoke up to this point, Kerr paused for a moment before looking at Li Fei beside her. Sister Li Fei, I'll leave the rest to you to tell young master. Chapter 1276. As for when they parted ways with Duan Lingtian, they left together. It was even to the extent that when they left, they didn't even have the time to bid farewell to Duan Lingtian, and in the following days, they often felt regret because of this. The first time I met you was during the clan martial competition held by the Aurora City's Li clan. Meanwhile, Li Fei continued Kerr's words and continued to speak to Duan Lingtian. From the first time she met Duan Lingtian, her impression of Duan Lingtian wasn't very good, and she felt that Duan Lingtian was very frivolous. She slowly spoke of Duan Lingtian's experiences in Aurora City. During this time, Li Fei didn't forget to speak of the existence of the two little pythons. I truly never imagined that when I was young, I actually had such a wonderful experience. Duan Lingtian sighed in his heart when he heard Li Fei. After she finished speaking of the events in Aurora City, Li Fei continued. After that, you went to the Crimson Sky Kingdom's Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp and stayed there for a period of time. After that, you returned and went to the Imperial City with us, and you settled down in the Imperial City. Subsequently, Li Fei spoke of Duan Lingtian's experiences in the Imperial City, including Paladin Academy, the Divine Might Marquis Estate, the Duan clan, and the Crimson Sky Kingdom's imperial family. Of course, Li Fei only spoke of what she knew. At that time, you led the Crimson Sky Kingdom soldiers to capture a neighboring country's city without expending a single soldier, and you seem to have become in existence like a god of war. In the entire Crimson Sky Kingdom, there was practically no one who didn't know of you. As she spoke up to hear, Li Fei's beautiful eyes seemed to have a burning gaze. That was her man. She was proud of it. Right when your name shook the Crimson Sky Kingdom, you made a decision to leave the Crimson Sky Kingdom and head to the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. At the first possible moment, you locked onto the 7-Star Sword Sect, the leader of the 5 great sects of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. On the way to the 7-Star Sword Sect, we encountered Little Gold. Li Fei paused for a moment. Little Gold? What's that? Duan Lingtian was puzzled. Little Gold is a rat-type demon beast. According to your words, it seems to be some jade-eyed heavenly mouse. Li Fei said. What? Jade-eyed heavenly mouse? Duan Lingtian couldn't help but be shocked when he heard this. Although he had yet to recall many things from the past, he still knew a little about the jade-eyed heavenly mouse. He knew that it was a powerful demon beast that could easily break through to the Emperor Wu realm when it matured. And he had encountered a jade-eyed heavenly mouse? In next to no time, Duan Lingtian's slightly agitated mood calmed down once again, because Li Fei had already continued to speak about what happened after that. What happened after that was none other than the matter of him being in the 7-Star Sword Sect, the leader of the 5 great sects of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. During this period of time, Li Fei didn't forget to tell Duan Lingtian some other things. For example, when they left the 7-Star Sword Sect and went to the ancient city of Everlast. In the ancient city of Everlast, they got to know Zhang Shouyong and Wang Qiong. In the end, Li Fei spoke about how she and Ke left with the peak master of the 7-Star Sword Sect's Alcade Peak, Qin Xiang. They originally thought that it was just an ordinary birthday celebration, but they never imagined that they would stay in the Yin Yang sect because of this. Yin Yang sect? Duan Lingtian frowned. Scoundrel, you know about the Yin Yang sect? Li Fei asked curiously. Ke looked at Duan Lingtian as well and asked with a concerned expression. Young master, what's wrong with you? In my recovered memories, I've been to the Yin Yang sect. But, why did I go to the Yin Yang sect? Why can't I recall it for a while? Duan Lingtian shook his head ceaselessly. He kept feeling that in the part of his recovered memories, there was still a small part that was incomplete. That small part was also the most important. Young master, you've been to the Yin Yang sect? Ke couldn't help but be shocked. Yes. I've been there. Duan Lingtian nodded. In my recovered memories, I seem to have killed the peak master of the Yin Yang sect's Yang Peak. He seemed to be called Yang Hong. His son was also killed by me. But, why did I kill him? Duan Lingtian muttered in a low voice, and his brows were tightly knit together. What? Yang Hong and his son are dead? The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, Li Fei and Ke turned pale with fright. After the initial shock, their faces were filled with excitement. Yang Hong and his son were their irreconcilable enemies. They still remembered. The reason they could escape from the Yin Yang sect was because their senior sister, Yang Shui, had tried her best to stop Yang Hong. That was how they managed to escape. Even when they went all the way north and entered Yuhan Valley, they wanted to avenge their senior sister, Yang Shui, and their master. Their master was the deputy peak master of Yin Peak, and he was killed by Yang Hong. However, regardless of whether it was Li Fei or Ke, they would never have thought that the enemy they desperately wanted to kill was already dead. Moreover, he was killed by their fiancé. No. Suddenly, Li Fei seemed to have recalled something, and her beautiful face tensed up slightly. Sister Fei, do you think the people who came looking for us were really young master's men? Ke asked. Li Fei took a deep breath. Ke had the same thought as her. She still remembered. Back then, when she and Ke successfully escaped from the Yin Yang sect, someone who knew the name of their fiancé came looking for them while they were hiding. However, they thought it was a trap, so they did not go out. Later on, many people, including the Supreme Elder of Yang Peak and the 2 Deputy Peak Masters of Yang Peak, came looking for them and said that their fiancé, Duan Lingtian, had killed Yang Hong and his son. At that time, they did not believe it. After all, it was Yang Hong and his son's scheme that lured them out. Scoundrel, when did you arrive at the Yin Yang sect? Li Fei asked after taking a deep breath. As long as Duan Lingtian could tell her when he arrived at the Yin Yang sect, she would know whether what she and Kerr had faced was real or not. I think so. Duan Lingtian pondered for a moment before he roughly told her the time he arrived at the Yin Yang sect. Boom! For a moment, whether it was Li Fei or Kerr, it was as though they had been struck by lightning. They were so shocked that they could not regain their senses for a long time. Sister Fei, At that time, it was really young master. Kerr looked at Li Fei and said with a complicated gaze. We were so close. If we didn't continue to hide at that time and came out, perhaps we would have reunited with the scoundrel. Li Fei sighed. She regretted her choice at that time. Sister Fei, it's not like you don't know the situation at that time. At that time, we couldn't take the risk. Kerr comforted Li Fei. Scoundrel, since you arrived at the Yin Yang sect after we left and killed Yang Hong and his son. Did you see senior sister Yang Shui when you killed them? Li Fei looked at Duan Lingtian and asked eagerly. In that case, I went to the Yin Yang sect because of them. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had also guessed his purpose of going to the Yin Yang sect. As it turned out, it was to look for his 2 fiancés. Yang Shui. Upon hearing Li Fei's question, Duan Lingtian was puzzled. Who's that? After Li Fei roughly described Yang Shui's characteristics, Duan Lingtian finally understood. So, you're talking about her. When I arrived, she was already dead. Dead? Although Li Fei and Kerr were already mentally prepared, they could not help but turn pale when they heard the news of Yang Shui's death from Duan Lingtian. 2 streaks of tears fell from their faces, causing them to look haggard. However, I used an ice coffin made of 10,000 years old ice to preserve her body. When I recalled this earlier, I couldn't remember why I did that at all. Now, it seems like it has something to do with both of you. When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his sentence, he could not help but sigh. Just when Li Fei and Kerr became a little dispirited after hearing the news of Yang Shui's death, Duan Lingtian was suddenly stunned. His brows were tightly knitted together. At the same time, he felt a slight tingling in the depths of his mind. This tingling sensation caused his body to tremble uncontrollably. At the same time, he clearly noticed that there were a lot of scattered images in his mind. In his mind, there were many fragmented images flashing past. These images seemed to come from the memories he had yet to recover. The memory fragments were densely packed together. He tried to piece them together, but it was difficult. Every step was difficult. Ah! At this moment, the tingling sensation suddenly intensified. Duan Lingtian could not endure it at all and let out a shrill cry. At this moment, he only felt a splitting headache. It was as if his entire head was about to be torn apart. Scoundrel! Young master! At this moment, Li Fei and Kerr were alarmed. They immediately put aside their memories of Yang Shui and looked at Duan Lingtian worriedly at the same time. However, after Duan Lingtian screamed, a sudden change occurred. His entire body trembled even more violently as if he had encountered something bad. At this moment, his eyes also became dim and lifeless. It was as if he had become a living dead. At this moment, Li Fei and Kerr panicked. They did not know what had just happened. They did not know why Duan Lingtian suddenly became like this. East Island, Hidden Fog Island. 2 Inner Island disciples whose dantian was crippled finally ran all the way back to East Island with the strength of their legs. Their dantian was crippled, and they had lost all of their origin energy. They could not fly in the air. However, with the various profundities that they had comprehended, their speed was not slow at all. It did not take long for them to return to East Island, to the place where they used to cultivate. However, this time, they did not return to the place where they used to cultivate. They knew very well in their hearts. Right now, they no longer had the right to stay in East Island. They only had one purpose in coming back. Revenge. Senior brother Chen has always been lustful. Since we can't get those two bitches, we'll destroy them. Chapter 1277. Ouch! Ouch! Duan Lingtian held his head that was about to split open with both of his hands as he growled like a wild beast. At this moment, it was as though he had transformed into an injured beast. He did not know when it happened, but his forehead was already drenched in sweat. Creak! 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 Duan Lingtian's teeth kept chattering as he made strange noises that would make anyone's hair stand on end. Scoundrel! Young master! Li Fei and Ke stood at the side anxiously. Since they did not know what had happened to Duan Lingtian, they did not dare to act rashly. They could only stand where they were and look at Duan Lingtian worriedly. Their hearts ached as they looked at Duan Lingtian, who was sweating profusely and appeared to be in extreme pain. If pain could be transferred, they would not hesitate to transfer their man's pain to themselves so that he would not suffer. At this moment, images flashed past Duan Lingtian's mind. These images were fragments of his past memories. As the images flashed past faster and faster, Duan Lingtian felt as though his head was about to explode. He could not help but growl again and again. What the hell? What's your soul made of, brat? Soon after, a voice resonated in Duan Lingtian's mind. This voice was filled with shock and disbelief. It was none other than Wang Ba. At this speed, I'm afraid your soul will fully recover in 15 minutes at most. Wang Ba said as though he had seen a ghost, you're really a monster, brat. I've lived for half of my life, but this is the first time I've seen a monster who can recover his soul so quickly. However, Duan Lingtian did not seem to hear Wang Ba's words. Or rather, he could not divert his attention to listen at all. At this moment, he only felt a splitting headache. He did not seem to be aware of his surroundings at all. Perhaps, he would not be able to resist even if someone wanted to kill him. Scoundrel! Young master! Li Fei and Ke stood to the side. They were very worried about Duan Lingtian's situation. Unknowingly, they were so anxious that tears began to flow out. Time passed quietly. A quarter of an hour later, the beast-like low roar disappeared, and the sound of teeth chattering also disappeared. Duan Lingtian, whose body was violently trembling, finally regained his calm. That said, even though he had regained his calm, blood was still flowing from his mouth. His teeth continued to chatter, splitting his mouth and causing blood to flow out. Who? After calming down, Duan Lingtian let out a sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Right now, he looked as if he had just been drenched by a heavy rain. His clothes were completely soaked. Of course, his clothes were drenched in cold sweat. Seeing that Duan Lingtian had regained his calm, Li Fei and Ke heaved a sigh of relief. When they saw that Duan Lingtian was still bleeding from his mouth, they both flew out. For a moment, Duan Lingtian could only smell two fragrances that were accompanied by two similar medicinal fragrances. Grade 1 Life Recovery Pill. Without any hesitation, Duan Lingtian opened his mouth and swallowed the pills that the two girls had brought over. A moment later, the blood in his mouth stopped flowing. If a third person saw this scene, they would definitely curse him for wasting God's gift. The splitting of the mouth and the bleeding were only superficial wounds. Even a grade 9 gold injury pill could stop the bleeding in the blink of an eye. Whoosh! As the origin energy on Duan Lingtian's body fluctuated, his drenched clothes were dried in just a moment. After his clothes were dried, without waiting for Li Fei and Ke to return to their senses, Duan Lingtian stretched out his hands and took the opportunity to pull the two girls into his arms. Duan Lingtian put the two girls' heads close to his cheek and a brilliant smile appeared on his face. Ke, little Fei, we haven't seen each other for so many years. Did you miss me very much? Bah! I didn't miss you. Li Fei, who was caught off guard by Duan Lingtian's sneak attack, replied instinctively when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. However, as soon as her words left her mouth, she was stunned. This was because she could hear that Duan Lingtian's tone seemed to be a little off. This feeling made her unable to help but recall the feeling she had when she was with Duan Lingtian in the past. She had a feeling. Her man seemed to have returned. To be more precise, her man from the past had returned. Young master, you've regained your memory? Ke asked in surprise when she also felt Duan Lingtian's change. Yes. I've recovered. Duan Lingtian smiled and nodded. After a full 15 minutes of torture earlier, his soul had finally recovered at an extremely fast speed. Since his soul had recovered, his memory had naturally recovered as well. The moment the splitting headache left him, his current memories perfectly merged with his past memories. He remembered everything. The two girls standing in front of him were his two fiancées that had been in his dreams all these years. They were existences that he treasured as much as his life. After receiving Duan Lingtian's confirmation, the two girls who still had tear stains on their faces broke into smiles. They hugged Duan Lingtian tightly together and leaned their heads on Duan Lingtian's shoulder. At this moment, the atmosphere also became charming and gentle. Half a day had passed, but the two girls were still unwilling to move. They just leaned on Duan Lingtian quietly. If it was possible, they wished this moment would last forever. To hug their loved ones until the end of time. What a wonderful thing that would be. Duan Lingtian hugged Li Fei and Ke tightly. He rubbed his face against Li Fei and Ke. Ke, little Fei, according to what you said earlier, when I went to the Yin Yang sect and killed Yang Hong, the peak master of Yang Peak, and sent someone to look for you, were you still nearby? Duan Lingtian asked curiously after a while. Yes. Li Fei nodded. When the Supreme Elder of Yang Peak and the two Vice Peak Masters of Yang Peak came to look for us, we were still there. However, we thought it was Yang Hong and his son's scheme. Fate really makes fools of us. Duan Lingtian sighed. If that's the case, you should have heard about the news about me and the Lingtian sect that I asked someone to spread, right? We heard about it. At that time, we thought it was Yang Hong and his son who wanted to bait us. Li Fei nodded and sighed. Now that I think about it, I was too sensitive at that time. If I had stayed and verified it, we might have been reunited a long time ago. Under those circumstances, you were right to be careful. Besides, aren't we reunited now? Duan Lingtian smiled. Moreover, I've already avenged senior sister Yang Shui and your master. Duan Lingtian added. Scoundrel, thank you. Li Fei took a deep breath and hugged Duan Lingtian tighter. Master, senior sister. The person who harmed you is dead. Both of you can rest in peace in the underworld. Ke slowly stood up and held Duan Lingtian's arm. She looked in the direction of Cloud Continent and bowed slightly as she muttered. Duan Lingtian and Li Fei also bowed in the direction of Cloud Continent. Master, senior sister. He's the man of Sister Ke and I. He's avenged both of you. Li Fei looked in the direction of Cloud Continent and said softly. Li Fei and Ke had tears rolling down their faces again. It was obvious that they were reminded of their master and senior sister when they were still in the Yin Yang sect. Tell me about what happened after you left the southern area of Cloud Continent's inner land. Duan Lingtian noticed Li Fei and Ke's sadness and changed the topic to divert their attention. Duan Lingtian learned about what happened to them from Li Fei and Ke. They went north and went through many hardships. In the end, they arrived at the northern area of Cloud Continent's inner land safely and successfully joined Yuhan Valley. Speaking of Yuhan Valley, both of your abilities shouldn't be enough to represent Yuhan Valley in the Hidden Fog martial competition, right? Duan Lingtian asked in confusion. He had already probed Li Fei and Ker's cultivation base with his spiritual energy. Li Fei was at the 7th level martial monarch stage while Ker was at the 8th level martial monarch stage. Duan Lingtian was surprised by their improvement. Based on their abilities, it was impossible for them to get the chance to join the Hidden Fog martial competition. Speaking of which, it's all thanks to you. Li Fei said. It's all thanks to me. Duan Lingtian was stunned. Little Fei, what do you mean? I don't know that Yuhan Emperor Wu from Yuhan Valley. Young master, it's because of Han Bing's divine sword technique. Ker said. Han Bing's divine sword technique? What's wrong with Han Bing's divine sword technique? Duan Lingtian was even more confused. Of course, he knew about Han Bing's divine sword technique. It was a top cultivation method recorded in the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory that he had integrated. Of course, it was only a top cultivation method on Cloud Continent. Besides, he also remembered. Back then, he had passed the Han Bing's God's sword technique to Kuer. However, he could not figure it out. What did Ker and Li Fei's arrival have to do with Han Bing's divine sword technique? Scoundrel, I'm afraid you've never thought that. Ker's and my master, the Yuhan Emperor Wu, would cultivate Han Bing's divine sword technique. Li Fei took over and told Duan Lingtian. What? Duan Lingtian was shocked when he heard what Li Fei said. He then muttered, that Yuhan Emperor Wu. Could it be that she's related to the Ice Emperor Wu? No. The Ice Emperor Wu was someone from 20,000 years ago. Even if she's related to the Yuhan Emperor Wu, it must be very faint. Or perhaps the reason why the Yuhan Emperor Wu knows Han Bing's divine sword technique is because of the inheritance that the Ice Emperor Wu left behind. Duan Lingtian was almost certain when he thought about it. Naturally, he thought that way because of the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory. According to the logic in the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory, that was most likely the case. Ker is willing to bring all of you to the Hidden Fog Island just because she cultivates Han Bing's divine sword technique? Chapter 1278. Scoundrel, you've guessed wrongly. It's precisely because Sister Ker cultivates Han Bing's God's sword technique that she was immediately accepted as a direct disciple by Yuhan Emperor Wu. Li Fei said to Duan Lingtian. I forgot. Earlier, you said that Yuhan Emperor Wu is your and Ker's current master. Duan Lingtian recalled what Li Fei said earlier and came to a realization. However, it's not strange that Ker became Yuhan Emperor Wu's direct disciple because of Han Bing's God's sword technique. How did you become Yuhan Emperor Wu's direct disciple? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. He knew very well in his heart whether it was Ker or Li Fei. In terms of strength and talent, they definitely could not enter Yuhan Emperor Wu's eyes. However, since Yuhan Emperor Wu accepted them as his direct disciples, there must be a reason. He already knew the reason for Ker. As for Li Fei, he could not guess it. It's because of Sister Ker's insistence. She said that if Yuhan Emperor Wu did not accept me as his direct disciple, she would not be willing to be his direct disciple either. Li Fei looked at Ker. Yuhan Emperor Wu is so easy to talk to. Duan Lingtian raised his eyebrows, somewhat surprised. Actually, I was also quite surprised at that time. Logically speaking, if an Emperor Wu is willing to accept a person as his direct disciple, in his eyes, it's undoubtedly that person's good fortune. If that person still wanted to bargain with him, he would definitely be unhappy. However, Yuhan Emperor Wu did not. Not only did he not, he even agreed to Sister Ker's conditions immediately when Ker mentioned it. Li Fei said. If that's the case, there are only two possibilities. Duan Lingtian said, firstly, Yuhan Emperor Wu really wants Ke to become his direct disciple, that's why he indulged Ke so much. Secondly, Yuhan Emperor Wu has ulterior motives. After you became Yuhan Emperor Wu's direct disciples, did you notice anything strange when you were interacting with her? Duan Lingtian looked at Li Fei and Ke and asked. A little, it was a little strange. Li Fei pondered for a moment before she said, she seems to be particularly interested in you. Me? Duan Lingtian was stunned. Yes. Yes, Li Fei said nodded, Yuhan Bing, S of you is, use did you use? Seem to have asked you. Phases Master SSS. Masters? Ke was a little surprised. Based on what you said. Could it be that Martial Emperor Yuhan has asked you about me? Duan Lingtian asked. Yes. Ke nodded. The situation I encountered is similar to Fei's. Did you tell Yuhan Emperor Wu that the Han Bing's sword technique that you're cultivating is from me? Duan Lingtian asked again. Ke nodded again. After confirming it, Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes as a bright light flashed in them. Now, I can be sure. Your current master, Yuhan Emperor Wu, has ulterior motives and is even interested in me. Duan Lingtian said to Li Fei and Ke, otherwise, she wouldn't have asked you about me. Maybe she knows something. When he reached the end of his sentence, a hint of vigilance appeared on Duan Lingtian's face. Young master, you said master has ulterior motives. Ke was also a little wary. She trusted Duan Lingtian unconditionally. As for Yuhan Emperor Wu, although they were master and disciple, the time they spent together did not even add up to half a day. Li Fei also looked at Duan Lingtian. Ke, little Fei, I think it's time to tell you some things. Duan Lingtian looked at Ke and Li Fei with a serious expression and said seriously. Young master, don't scare me. Seeing Duan Lingtian's serious expression, Ke's beautiful face changed. Although Li Fei's expression did not change, she also frowned at this moment. She was also very curious about what Duan Lingtian was going to say next. Ke, you've been following me for a long time. When we were at the Li family in Fresh Breeze Town, you should have heard about some things that happened to me in the Li family before you followed me, right? Duan Lingtian looked at Ke. Ke nodded. When she had first followed Duan Lingtian to the Li family in Fresh Breeze Town, she had also heard about Duan Lingtian's tragic past from some of the Li family members. However, after she had followed Duan Lingtian had acted out of character. Not only had he become high profile, but he had also become one of the most outstanding youths in Fresh Breeze Town. At that time, she had been suspicious. She wondered if the rumors about her young master's tragic past had been deliberately made up by someone. Actually, before I met you, I had a fortuitous encounter. That fortuitous encounter allowed me to fuse with the memories of an expert, the Emperor Wu. Duan Lingtian looked at Ke and spoke frankly. He was talking about the matter of fusing with the memories of the Samsara Emperor Wu. As for the matter of his previous life, he did not mention it. It was not that he did not trust Ke and Li Fei. The two of them were his fiancés, and he was even willing to give up his life for them, not to mention a mere background. He was only afraid of scaring them. After all, that matter was unimaginable to the two of them. Samsara Emperor Wu. The 3 lives Samsara technique? In his 3rd life, he chose you, young master, and wanted to take over your body and replace you? Ke was so frightened that her face turned white. A person from 20,000 years ago. That Samsara Emperor Wu is really terrifying. He can actually live for more than 20,000 years through a set of techniques. Li Fei was also frightened. After a while, she could not help but gasp. Then, Ke and Li Fei also learned about the Samsara Emperor Wu's past from Duan Lingtian. For example, the Samsara Emperor Wu's achievements in the Tao of weapon forging, the Tao of medicine refining, and the Tao of inscription. No wonder you not only know how to forge weapons and refine pills, but also inscribe inscriptions. So it's all because of the memories of the Samsara Emperor Wu. Li Fei was enlightened. In the past, she really thought her fiancé was an all-around talent. It turned out that everything was because of the memories of the Samsara Emperor Wu. Perhaps the Samsara Emperor Wu did not expect that, in his third life, not only did he fail to reincarnate, he even used the memories of his 2 lives to make a wedding dress for you, young master. Kerr sighed. At this time, Kerr also knew about the origin of the Han Bing's God Sword technique. It was a technique that the Samsara Emperor Wu won from an expert with the title, Han Bing, from the hands of the Emperor Wu. Scoundrel. Cold Emperor Wu asked me and Kerr about you. Could it be related to the Samsara Emperor Wu? Li Fei guessed. I have this suspicion too. Since that cold Emperor Wu knows the complete version of the Han Bing's God Sword technique, it means that she has a certain connection with the Frost Emperor Wu. Or maybe she obtained the inheritance of the Frost Emperor Wu. Duan Lingtian's eyes shone brightly like the stars in the night sky as he guessed. Can we think of it this way? She obtained the inheritance of the Frost Emperor Wu, and the Frost Emperor Wu left a record of the Samsara Emperor Wu in his inheritance. Li Fei guessed. Moreover, it also mentioned that her technique was obtained by the Samsara Emperor Wu. The reason why the cold Emperor Wu asked about you is because she suspects that you're the 3rd reincarnation of the Samsara Emperor Wu. Maybe she even found out that the Samsara Emperor Wu was a royal-grade alchemist through the information that the Frost Emperor Wu left behind. Li Fei continued to guess. That's possible. Duan Lingtian nodded. Young master, I thought of something. Before I left Yuhan Valley and came to the Hidden Fog Island, I accidentally entered the forbidden area of Yuhan Valley. Suddenly, Kerr seemed to have recalled something and said. The forbidden area of Yuhan Valley? Duan Lingtian was stunned. There are only 2 people in the entire Yuhan Valley who are qualified to enter the forbidden area of Yuhan Valley. One of them is the Yuhan Emperor Wu and the other is Senior Sister Su. Li Fei said. Senior Sister Su. The lady in green who was with you earlier. Duan Lingtian asked curiously. Yes, she's Senior Sister Su. Apart from that, she's also the eldest direct disciple of the Yuhan Emperor Wu and is highly regarded by the Yuhan Emperor Wu. Apart from that, it's rumored that she's also an Emperor Wu powerhouse. Li Fei continued. The last time I accidentally entered the forbidden area, Senior Sister Su was the one who brought me out. However, I still saw a statue in the forbidden area, a statue that looked like a woman. Kerr said. A statue? Duan Lingtian and Li Fei were stunned. Yes. Kerr nodded. That statue was a woman who was standing with a sword. At that time, I could tell that the statue had been around for a long time. It might have been passed down from Yuhan Valley. What's different about the statue that looked like a woman who was standing with a sword? Duan Lingtian asked. There's a sword-shaped mark in between the woman's eyebrows. I'm not sure if it's the effect of the statue. Kerr said. Between the eyebrows? A sword-shaped mark? Duan Lingtian pondered for a moment and subconsciously searched through the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu. The memories of his first lifetime. In the end, he confirmed it. The Frost Emperor Wu who had fought with the reincarnation Emperor Wu had a sword-shaped mark in between his eyebrows. He was once known as a natural-born sword cultivator because of that. The statue of the Frost Emperor Wu. It's been around for a long time. Duan Lingtian pondered for a moment and said, if that's the case, it's not that the Yuhan Emperor Wu obtained the Frost Emperor Wu's inheritance. It's very likely that the ancestors of the Yuhan Valley obtained the Frost Emperor Wu's inheritance. Yuhan Valley. She didn't build it single-handedly, right? Duan Lingtian asked. No. Both Li Fei and Kerr knew what Duan Lingtian was asking. Just as Duan Lingtian and the other two were discussing the Yuhan Emperor Wu, on the southern island of the Hidden Fog Island, the first thing Su Rong did when she returned from the Hidden Fog City was to look for the Yuhan Emperor Wu. Master, junior sister Ke and junior sister Li's fiancé has appeared. Su Rong reported respectfully. Chapter 1279. He was Ke and Li Fei's fiancé. Was he not the person who was suspected to be the reincarnation of the reincarnation Emperor Wu? The reincarnation Emperor Wu was a powerhouse who stood at the pinnacle of the Cloud Continent 20,000 years ago. Apart from his terrifying strength, he was also a heaven-defying alchemist. Until now, she had never heard of an alchemist on the Cloud Continent who could break through the shackles of a Grade 1 alchemist to become a quasi-royal grade alchemist. Let alone a royal grade alchemist. However, the reincarnation Emperor Wu from 20,000 years ago was a royal grade alchemist. During that era, the reincarnation Emperor Wu could be said to be an all-powerful existence. He was so popular on the Cloud Continent that nobody could compare to him. The Yuhan Emperor Wu knew all of this. Moreover, she also knew that the reincarnation Emperor Wu cultivated a heaven-defying cultivation method called the 3 lives reincarnation technique. One would need to go through 3 lives of reincarnation to cultivate it completely. After 20,000 years, it was time for the reincarnation Emperor Wu's 3rd reincarnation to be born. Han Bing's divine sword technique. According to the Frost Emperor Wu's words, apart from herself, she only passed it on to the reincarnation Emperor Wu at the moment of her death. Later on, Yuhan Valley obtained the Frost Emperor Wu's inheritance. In other words, apart from the reincarnation Emperor Wu and Yuhan Valley, nobody else in the world knows the Han Bing's divine sword technique. In Yuhan Valley, the Han Bing's divine sword technique is only passed on to the next valley master. It's impossible for it to be passed on to outsiders. Therefore, Ke's Han Bing's divine sword technique must have been passed on to her by the reincarnation Emperor Wu. To be more precise, it was passed on to her by the reincarnation Emperor Wu's 3rd reincarnation. According to Ke, the Han Bing's divine sword technique that she cultivated was passed on to her by her fiancé. Thousands of thoughts flashed through the mind of Emperor Wu in the blink of an eye. Finally, he came to a conclusion. Ke's fiancé was the 3rd reincarnation of Samsara Emperor Wu. Where is he? The cold Emperor Wu looked at Su Rong with a burning gaze. He seemed to have lost his composure. She couldn't afford to lose her composure. Although the 3rd reincarnation of Emperor Wu hadn't matured yet, it was a unique treasure to her. This was because he was not only a royal grade alchemist, but he was also a powerhouse who was once Emperor Wu. In his first life, reincarnation Emperor Wu was an expert who stood at the peak of Cloud Continent. In his second life, if there were no accidents, he would definitely be an Emperor Wu as well. So much so that it might even surpass the first life. He, who had experienced 2 lifetimes, must have left something behind for his 3rd reincarnation before he went through his 3rd reincarnation. Among those things, there must be many that she coveted. Due to this reason, the cold Emperor Wu was eager to find the 3rd reincarnation of reincarnation Emperor Wu. She wanted to control him and steal his spatial ring. She wanted to enslave him. A royal grade alchemist would become her slave. Just the thought of it made Martial Emperor Yuhan feel inexplicably excited. He's in the Hidden Fog City with junior sister Ke and junior sister Li, Su Rong said. Hidden Fog City. Martial Emperor Yuhan nodded. In the next second, she disappeared before Su Rong's eyes without any movement, leaving Su Rong dumbfounded. Master actually went there personally. It seems like that Duan Lingtian has something that Master is interested in. Su Rong thought to herself. Although she had guessed it a long time ago, it was only now that she confirmed it. Just as Su Rong was deep in her thoughts, the cold Emperor Wu was already on his way to the Hidden Fog City. Wherever he passed, the fog would disperse and make way for him. With the cold Emperor Wu's speed, it did not take long for him to arrive at the Hidden Fog City. Unfortunately, she was destined to return empty-handed. Whether it was Duan Lingtian, Ke, or Li Fei, all of them were no longer in the Hidden Fog City. Not only were they not in the Hidden Fog City, but they were also deliberately staying away from the city. However, the cold Emperor Wu soon heard about what Duan Lingtian had done in the Hidden Fog City not long ago, crippling two of the Hidden Fog Island's inner islands disciples. As expected of the reincarnation Emperor Wu's third reincarnation. He's not even fully grown yet, but he's already so high profile. The cold Emperor Wu muttered to himself. After finding out from some people in the Hidden Fog City that Duan Lingtian, Ke, and Li Fei had already left the Hidden Fog City, the cold Emperor Wu also left the Hidden Fog City. She did not look for them everywhere. Although the Hidden Fog Island was not big, it was not easy to find the three of them. The cold Emperor Wu returned to the southern island and returned to the residence that the Hidden Fog Island had arranged for the people of the Yuhan Valley. After returning, the cold Emperor Wu went to look for Su Rong again. Tell me everything that happened when you met Ke and Li Fei's fiancé. Seeing that the cold Emperor Wu had returned alone and did not look good, Su Rong did not dare to delay. She told him everything that happened when she met Duan Lingtian without hiding anything. If that's the case, he must have followed an Emperor Wu or a demon emperor from the Cloud Continent to the Hidden Fog Island. The cold Emperor Wu's eyes gleamed as he muttered to himself. That should be the case. Su Rong nodded. Duan Ling Tian. The cold Emperor Wu repeated the name one word at a time. The light in his eyes was getting brighter and brighter. Duan Lingtian. The third reincarnation of the reincarnation Emperor Wu. At this moment, the cold Emperor Wu had a rough idea of what was going on. In the eastern island of the Hidden Fog Island. In a valley with beautiful scenery, waves of decadent sounds could be heard continuously. The sounds were enough to make a shy person blush. A tall and sturdy young man was engaged in the most primitive activity with a young lady with a hot body. The lady was sprawled on a huge rock while the young man kept pounding her from behind. It was as though he was riding a horse. The obscene sounds came from the lady's mouth. After some time, the young man's movements became faster. In the end, he let out a low growl as his body twitched violently. He only calmed down after a while. As for the lady, she fell on the huge rock like a dead dog. She was so tired that she had passed out. The young man glanced at the pretty lady nonchalantly. With a lift of his hand, a long robe appeared and he put it on. Suddenly, the young man seemed to have noticed something as he looked out of the valley. Senior Brother Chen. At the same time, two voices came from outside the valley and entered the young man's ears clearly. Whoosh! The young man raised his brow when he heard the voices. He immediately moved as though he had transformed into a gust of wind and was blown out of the valley. It's you guys. After exiting the valley, the young man hovering in the air glanced at the two middle-aged men standing on the ground nonchalantly. Tell me, why are you looking for me? As a core disciple of the Hidden Fog Island, he had some inner island disciples following him. The two men before him were his followers. Senior Brother Chen, our dantians have been crippled. One of the middle-aged men said with grief and indignation. There was an extremely cold gleam deep in his eyes as though he was about to devour someone. The young man who was addressed as Senior Brother Chen was the core disciple of the Hidden Fog Island, Chen Ji. Apart from having a shocking martial strength and having broken through to the Emperor Wu stage, Chen Ji had another hobby, and that was women. Anyone from the Hidden Fog Island would more or less know about Chen Ji. Chen Ji was a core disciple of the Hidden Fog Island. He was lustful and would not be satisfied without women. It was said that he would do the most primitive exercise at least twice a day. Moreover, he would not be interested in women if they were not beautiful. What's going on? Chen Ji frowned. As the saying went, before you beat a dog, you have to look at its master. He could not help but be furious when he learned that his two followers had their dantians crippled. Senior brother Chen, you must avenge us. We offended that guy because of you, Senior brother Chen. However, we didn't expect him to be so ruthless and cripple our dantians. The other middle-aged man said with shame and anger. Because of me? Chen Ji's frown deepened. Tell me. What's going on? Senior brother Chen, it's like this. Not long ago, the two of us were in charge of receiving a powerhouse from the Cloud Continent, Emperor Wu, and his 10 disciples. The middle-aged man took a deep breath and suppressed his anger as he said, at that time, we were receiving a female Emperor Wu from the Cloud Continent, Yuhan Emperor Wu. The 10 disciples that Emperor Wu Yuhan brought were all female. Chen Ji's eyes lit up when the middle-aged man reached this part of the story. He was completely captivated. All of them were female disciples. In the depths of Chen Ji's eyes, there was a luster of lust. Among the 10 female disciples that Emperor Wu Yuhan brought, 2 of them were so beautiful that they could make the birds and beasts fall from the sky and put the flowers to shame. No, I should say that they're devastatingly beautiful. The middle-aged man blurted out, I've lived for so long, but it's my first time seeing such beautiful women. Moreover, there are 2 of them. Me too. The 2 women each had an appearance that could be said to be peerless. The words peerless beauties couldn't be more appropriate when used on them. The other middle-aged man chimed in. His eyes shone brightly as he spoke. Are they really that beautiful? Chen Ji's eyes had already lit up when the first middle-aged man spoke. His eyes were like stars. When the second middle-aged man chimed in, his breathing became hurried, and his sparkling eyes seemed to be filled with flames of desire. There were 2 things that he was most interested in his life. Firstly, cultivation. Secondly, women. To someone like him who was not happy without women, beauties were the source of his desire. How would we dare to lie to you, Senior brother Chen? One of the middle-aged men hurriedly said. I don't think you'd dare to lie to me. However, I'm very interested in them. Tell me where they are now. There was a hint of urgency in Chen Ji's tone. Senior brother Chen, we wanted to invite them to East Island to see you. Who would have thought that a fellow would appear out of nowhere? Not only did he cripple our cultivation base, but he even said that you're a toad who wants to eat swan meat. Chapter 1280. A toad lusting after a swan. Chen Ji's eyes turned cold as he asked in his deep voice, who's he? I think he's someone who came with Emperor Wu from the Cloud Continent to participate in the Hidden Fog Martial Competition. Senior brother Chen, you must avenge us. Everything we've done is for your sake. That's right. Senior brother Chen, you must avenge us. The 2 middle-aged men chimed in one after another. Now, the 2 Hidden Fog Island's inner island disciples were spouting nonsense. They were trying to drag Chen Ji into the mess. They were sure that Chen Ji was interested in the 2 women. However, they were not sure that Chen Ji would kill the purple-clad young man who crippled their dantian, Duan Lingtian. That was why they wanted to provoke Chen Ji. They only hoped that Chen Ji would be able to kill Duan Lingtian as soon as he saw him. Otherwise, Chen Ji might show mercy if the 2 women interfered. That was not what they wanted to see. Who dares to bully me, Chen Ji, in this tiny hidden fog island? Chen Ji smirked. After learning about the identities of Duan Lingtian, Ke, and Li Fei, he moved and disappeared before the 2 middle-aged men. The 2 of them were thrilled. They looked at each other and saw the joy in each other's eyes. They knew very well. Chen Ji was going to look for Duan Lingtian and the other 2. This time, that Duan Lingtian will definitely die. As for the 2 sluts, they'll become Senior brother Chen's female slaves soon. Ha ha ha. One of the middle-aged men laughed heartily. His laughter was wanton. It's a pity that our cultivation base has been crippled. Otherwise, I'd love to see Senior brother Chen kill that Duan Lingtian and have those 2 sluts. the other middle-aged man said with a ferocious gaze. Chenji went to the southern island as soon as he left the eastern island. He arrived at the mansion where the people from Yuhan Valley were staying under martial Emperor Yuhan. Only he knew what he wanted to do. Meanwhile, a wooden house was quietly erected in the forest along the coast in the northeastern part of the hidden fog island. It looked extremely out of place. The wooden house was erected very quickly and it was completed in no time. It was a man and two women who erected the wooden house. As the saying went, when men and women work together, they won't be tired. The wooden house that appeared in a short period of time was the best proof of that. The efficiency of men and women working together was indeed very high. The three people were none other than Duan Ling Tian, Ku and Li Fei. They had left Hidden Fog City not long ago and came here with his two fiancées. We're only lacking a bed. Duan Ling Tian glanced at Ke and Li Fei with a smirk on his face. Duan Ling Tian left just as the two women were blushing because of Duan Ling Tian's words. Of course, he did not really leave. He went to cut wood to make a bed. Soon, the bed was completed and Duan Ling Tian tossed it into the wooden house. Subsequently, he carried Ke and Li Fei in each arm and dashed into the wooden house. As the door of the wooden house was closed, a series of creaking noises could be heard from the inside, as if the bed was about to collapse from the tremors. The creaking sounds continued until evening and even late at night. The creaking sounds did not seem like they were going to stop anytime soon. It was not until the morning of the second day that the noise completely stopped. Inside the wooden house, Duan Ling Tian, who was on the verge of exhaustion, fell asleep on the large wooden bed while carrying the two women in each arm. He was not the only one who was tired after a day and night of madness. The two women were exhausted as well. Duan Ling Tian and the two women slept until the morning of the third day. They slept for an entire day and night. After waking up, Duan Ling Tian did not let go of the two little lambs by his side. After transforming into a wolf, he went crazy for the entire morning to vent the desire that he had suppressed for many years. Naturally, the desire that he had suppressed for many years was not something that could be vented in a short period of time. In the end, Duan Ling Tian let the two women go for the time being after they begged for mercy. There's still more than 2 months before the Hidden Fog martial competition begins. Both of you will stay here with me during this time. As for Yuhan and Emperor Wu, don't bother them for now. Duan Ling Tian left the wooden house after informing the two women. However, he soon realized that his words were superfluous. Before he could finish his sentence, the two women had already fallen into a deep sleep. It was obvious that they were exhausted. As the saying goes, there's only an exhausted cow, but there's no plowed field. However, it seemed to be the opposite when it came to Duan Ling Tian. After leaving the wooden house, Duan Ling Tian went to Hidden Fog City. After a few days, Duan Ling Tian entered Hidden Fog City again. He did not stay for long. After buying all the materials that he needed, he left Hidden Fog City again. It only took him an hour to leave Hidden Fog City from the moment he entered to the moment he left Hidden Fog City. And it was in this 1 hour that he had gained a lot. This Hidden Fog Island is really a land of treasures. The materials that are extremely rare on Cloud Continent are actually being sold here. Duan Ling Tian exclaimed on his way back. Naturally, he was not surprised that the Hidden Fog Island was rich in resources. This was because he had guessed that there was a supreme-grade origin stone mine under the Hidden Fog Island. Due to this reason, the cultivation environment on the Hidden Fog Island was better than anywhere else on Cloud Continent. That supreme-grade origin stone mine must be buried in the east of the Hidden Fog Island. It's also where the East Island is located. It was not difficult for Duan Ling Tian to discover this. Soon after, Duan Ling Tian returned to the wooden house. Since the wooden house was built in a remote forest adjacent to the boundless ocean, very few people would come here. After returning to the wooden house, Duan Ling Tian saw that the two women were still sleeping. He did not disturb them. Let's refine the profound monarch pill first. Duan Lingtian thought to himself as his heart jolted. The profound monarch pill was a pill refined with the 10,000-year red fruit. It could help a martial monarch powerhouse raise his cultivation base quickly. Duan Lingtian had already obtained the 10,000-year red fruit when he barged into Lost Stone Forest for Feng Tianwu and lost his memory. Unfortunately, before he could combine it with other herbs to refine the profound monarch pill, he encountered a great change and lost his memory. He only regained his memory recently. Now that he had regained his memory, Duan Lingtian began to refine the profound monarch pill in his free time. One profound monarch pill will be enough to help me break through to the Emperor Wu stage. The rest will be enough to help Ke and Little Fei, or break through to the Emperor Wu stage. Duan Lingtian thought about the distribution of the profound monarch pill when he was refining the profound monarch pill. He only had one 10,000-year red fruit, so he could only refine one cauldron of profound monarch pills. A cauldron of profound monarch pills with a 100% success rate would only produce 10 pills. Smack! After a series of cumbersome actions, Duan Lingtian pressed his hand on the cauldron. The cauldron trembled violently and made a soft sound. Whoosh! 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 Subsequently, 10 pills shot out from the cauldron and were caught by Duan Lingtian. They were the 10 profound monarch pills. After the profound monarch pills were successfully refined, Duan Lingtian realized the two girls were still asleep. He did not disturb them and took one profound monarch pill before he began to cultivate. At the same time, he placed the other 9 profound monarch pills aside and left behind a voice transmission jade slip that contained a message he left behind using voice transmission. In the next moment, he began to cultivate. 9 dragons war sovereign technique, divine dragon form. With the help of the profound monarch pill's medicinal efficacy, Duan Lingtian could clearly feel the rebirth pill's medicinal efficacy accumulated in the depths of his dantian was activated again. It merged with his origin energy and helped him to raise his cultivation base rapidly. Currently, his cultivation base was already at the 9th level martial monarch stage. The reason his strength rose so quickly was not only because of the rebirth pill, but also because of the overbearing medicinal efficacy of the rebirth pill. Now that his cultivation base had risen to such a level, there was not much of the rebirth pill's medicinal efficacy left. By the time I break through to the Emperor Wu stage, I'm afraid the rebirth pill's medicinal efficacy will be gone as well. Duan Lingtian had already mentally prepared himself for this. Duan Lingtian completely forgot about the time while he was cultivating. After an unknown amount of time, a soft sound resonated from his body. Duan Lingtian opened his eyes. His eyes gleamed like the stars in the night sky. If there was another person who knew Duan Lingtian here, he would definitely be able to tell immediately. The current Duan Lingtian was very different from before. Strictly speaking, his aura had undergone an earth-shattering change. Emperor Wu stage. I've finally broken through to the Emperor Wu stage. After a long while, Duan Lingtian regained his senses. His face was filled with excitement. Emperor Wu stage. Currently, Duan Lingtian had officially entered the ranks of Emperor Wu powerhouses. He was no longer the martial monarch powerhouse whose strength was comparable to Emperor Wu powerhouses. Duan Lingtian stood up abruptly when he felt the majestic origin energy that had undergone a qualitative change in his body. His emotions surged, and he could not calm down for a long time. Half an hour later, Duan Lingtian finally calmed down his surging emotions. When he regained his senses and looked at the two girls, he realized they had already woken up. They were sitting cross-legged on the bed with their eyes closed as they cultivated. They were completely immersed in their cultivation. At this moment, Duan Lingtian realized there were only 7 profound monarch pills left out of the 9 that he had left for the two girls. It seems like they've already heard the message I left in the voice transmission jade slip. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. When he left the Profound Monarch pills, he had also left the voice transmission jade slip to remind the two girls to consume the Profound Monarch pills to cultivate after they woke up. Now that I've broken through to the Emperor Wu stage, I can consolidate the royal grade weapon fire. In other words, I can refine the royal grade spirit archery set. At the same time, I can officially cultivate the Saint grade martial tactic, the colossal aerolite arrow. Chapter 1281. Duan Lingtian had almost prepared all the materials he needed to refine a royal-grade spirit weapon the last time he went to Hidden Fog City. Coupled with the refining material, the ink steel, that he obtained from the Martial Emperor's secret treasure left behind by Martial Emperor Qing Feng, he could now refine a royal-grade spirit bow and arrow. I wonder how long I've been cultivating this time. Duan Lingtian was not in a hurry to refine a royal-grade spirit weapon. He walked out of the wooden house and checked the killing formation that he had set up before he left with a peace of mind. The killing formation was set up when he built the wooden house with the two girls. This killing formation was powerful enough to instantly kill anyone below the 7th level Martial Monarch stage. Even those above the 7th level Martial Monarch stage and below the Emperor Wu stage would be severely injured if they did not die. It was because of this killing formation that he dared to leave for Hidden Fog City to prepare the materials he needed to refine medicine and refine weapons when the two girls were asleep. Duan Lingtian went to Hidden Fog City again this time. He went to Hidden Fog City this time to find out when the Hidden Fog martial competition would begin. 40 days later. Soon after, Duan Lingtian obtained the answer. It seems like I've spent more than a month cultivating this time. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. He still remembered. When he reunited with the two girls, there were still 2 months and 20 days before the Hidden Fog martial competition. Now, there were only 40 days left, which was equivalent to 10 days in a month. Excluding the few days he spent with the two girls, he had spent a month and a few days cultivating. After confirming the time, Duan Lingtian left Hidden Fog City. On his way back, Duan Lingtian seemed to have recalled something all of a sudden, and he let out a long sigh. The rebirth pill's medicinal efficacy is completely gone now. At this moment, the rebirth pill's medicinal efficacy was completely gone in his dantian. To be more precise, it was completely depleted. Along the way, the reason why his cultivation speed was so fast was because of the nirvana pills. Now that the rebirth pill was gone, he could not help but feel a little disappointed. However, his attention was quickly diverted elsewhere. Now that my cultivation base has broken through to the Emperor Wu stage, I can condense a royal-grade weapon fire. According to the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu, it's not difficult for me to refine a royal-grade spirit weapon. Duan Lingtian had no doubt about this. The reincarnation Emperor Wu was a powerful royal-grade weapon craftsman. After fusing with the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu, he would be like the reincarnation of the reincarnation Emperor Wu. There was no pressure or difficulty at all. However, according to the Rebirth Martial Emperor's memory, he's never refined a quasi-royal grade spirit weapon that's above a bow and arrow spirit weapon. The best bow-type spirit weapon he refined was only a grade 1 spirit weapon. Even the bowstring of that grade 1 spirit artifact is. Oh no! Then, does this mean that the tendon of the void transformation stage cow-type demon beast that I bought earlier is only a grade 1 bowstring of a spirit weapon? According to the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu, Duan Lingtian quickly realized that the tendon that he had prepared to use as a bowstring was only a grade 1 bowstring of a spirit weapon. There were 3 important points in a bow. Firstly, the bow must be strong. Secondly, the arrow must be good. These 2 points were not difficult for Duan Lingtian. He could refine it according to the usual spirit weapon. Thirdly, the bowstring. Previously, Duan Lingtian had gone to the Hidden Fog City to buy a tendon because of the grade 1 spirit weapon in the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memories. At that time, he had gone to more than 10 shops just for the tendon. The tendon was not an ordinary tendon. It was the tendon of a 9th-level void transformation stage cow-type demon beast. It was extremely rare. There were many 9th-level void transformation stage demon beasts, but not all of them had a material that could be used as a bowstring. According to the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu, only the tendon of a cow-type demon beast and the dragon tendon of a dragon were the most suitable materials to be used as a bowstring. It was fine for cow-type demon beasts. Dragons, on the other hand, were mythical existences in legends. Of course, it did not necessarily have to be the dragon tendon of a divine dragon in legends. Even the Wyrm dragons that transformed from snakes had dragon tendons in their bodies. Although it was slightly weaker, it was definitely better than the tendon of a cow. The weakest Wyrm dragon is at the demon monarch stage or above. The stronger ones are at the demon emperor stage. Their strength is incomparable to ordinary demon emperors. At this moment, Duan Lingtian learned a lot of things from the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu. For example, when a snake-type demon beast broke through to the void stage, it would undergo a transformation. Even though it was a pseudo-Wyrm, it was still a snake in nature. Only when it broke through to the martial monarch stage would it truly transform into a Wyrm and become a powerful Wyrm dragon. Only a Wyrm dragon could be considered a dragon. Of course, it was only the lowest level of dragon. Under the pressure of a true divine dragon, it was no different from an ant. A Wyrm dragon. At the demon monarch stage, it's a silver Wyrm. Once it breaks through to the Emperor Wu stage, it'll undergo another transformation and transform into a golden Wyrm. Once a Wyrm demon emperor powerhouse reverts to its true form, it's a Wyrm dragon with shiny golden scales all over its body. Especially its pair of dragon horns, they look like they're made of gold. Duan Lingtian learned all of this from the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu. The reincarnation Emperor Wu had experienced 2 lifetimes. He had seen the true form of a Wyrm dragon once. It was a silver Wyrm that he encountered in the sea outside the Cloud Continent. Based on the reincarnation Emperor Wu's lifetime of weapon refinement experience, the bowstring required to refine a Grade 1 spirit archery weapon requires the tendon of a void transformation stage cow-type demon beast. The bowstring required to refine a quasi-royal grade spirit archery weapon or even a royal grade spirit archery weapon requires at least the tendon of a demon beast at the demon monarch stage or above. It's either the tendon of a cow-type demon beast or the dragon tendon of a Wyrm dragon. Duan Lingtian felt a headache coming on when he thought of this. Putting aside the fact that a Wyrm dragon was elusive, cow-type demon beasts at the demon monarch stage or above were extremely rare. In the 2 lifetimes that the reincarnation Emperor Wu had experienced, he had only encountered 1 Wyrm dragon. As for cow-type demon beasts at the demon monarch stage or above, he had only encountered 3. Forget it. I'll just give it a try. Duan Lingtian, who felt extremely troubled, shook his head. He planned to refine the bow and arrow first before seeing if the tendon in his hand could be used. Perhaps the royal grade spirit archery weapon and arrow that I refine can make up for the grade 1 spirit archery weapon that's lagging behind. At that time, I'll accept it even if it's only a quasi-royal grade spirit weapon when they're combined. Duan Lingtian was mentally prepared for this. Even if it was a quasi-royal grade spirit weapon, it could be considered as a saint weapon. It would be enough to help him cultivate the saint-grade martial tactic, the colossal aerolite arrow, that his cheapskate father had left him. After returning to the wooden house, Duan Lingtian glanced at the 2 girls who were still cultivating before he left the wooden house again. Compared to refining pills, refining spirit artifacts required a lot more space, be it in terms of movement or movement. After all, refining pills was done in the cauldron. Even if there were changes in the cauldron, the outside world would remain calm and would not be affected at all. However, refining spirit weapons was different. Chi. As Duan Lingtian stood in the air outside the wooden house, he raised his hand, and a dazzling golden flame appeared. It shone as brightly as the sun, and it was particularly dazzling. The golden flames wreaked havoc, causing the surrounding air to become scorching hot. A gust of hot wind blew past and blew on one's body. It made one feel as though they were in a sea of fire. The flame that appeared in Duan Lingtian's hand was the royal grade weapon fire. It was the royal grade weapon fire that could refine royal grade spirit weapons. As soon as the royal grade weapon fire appeared, Duan Lingtian's expression turned grave immediately. As he raised his hand, materials appeared one by one and were devoured by the royal grade weapon fire. Including the ink steel that he obtained from Emperor Wu's secret treasure, all of the materials disappeared in the royal grade weapon fire. The royal grade weapon fire seemed to have transformed into a gigantic flaming beast that devoured everything into its stomach. Time continued to pass by quietly. Soon, an hour had passed. At this moment, beads of sweat appeared on Duan Lingtian's forehead. Although he had merged with the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory, refining a royal grade spirit weapon was not something the reincarnation Emperor Wu could be careless about. Therefore, it was only natural that Duan Lingtian felt pressured. Fortunately, since he had merged with the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory perfectly, it was equivalent to the reincarnation Emperor Wu refining the weapon himself. Therefore, there was no problem at all. Another 2 hours passed. It's finally starting to melt. Duan Lingtian's eyes were like torches as he stared at the royal grade weapon fire in his hand. At this moment, he could clearly see it. The last material in the royal grade weapon fire had finally begun to melt. This material was none other than the ink steel. The ink steel was an indispensable material to refine a quasi-royal grade spirit weapon or even a royal grade spirit weapon. Duan Lingtian learned this through the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memory. If he used the quasi-royal grade weapon fire to refine the ink steel, it would take him 3 days and 3 nights. However, with the royal grade weapon fire, it would only take him a few hours. Under the heat of Duan Lingtian's royal grade weapon fire, the ink steel finally began to melt. Another hour passed by, and the ink steel finally transformed into a pool of liquid. Along with Duan Lingtian's profound weapons refinement technique, the liquid that the ink steel transformed into merged with the liquid that the other materials had transformed into. What happened next was much simpler. With the help of the royal grade weapon fire, the royal grade spirit bow and arrow gradually began to take shape. After spending another half a day, the embryonic form of the bow and arrow finally transformed into their final form in the raging royal grade weapon fire. As the royal grade weapon fire was extinguished, the bow and arrow slowly fell into Duan Lingtian's hand. Whether it was the bow or the arrow, they were completely black without any luster at all. Even under the sunlight, they were as black as ink and did not reflect any light at all. In fact, this was Duan Lingtian's intention. The most powerful thing about the bow and arrow was that it could catch the enemy off guard. This was especially true at night. Chapter 1282. Although it was inappropriate to stab someone in the back, it was undeniable that it was the most effective and direct method. For this reason, when Duan Lingtian was refining the bow and arrow in his hands, he purposely concealed their luster. The bow and arrow could only unleash its most terrifying power when it caught the enemy off guard. Now, whether it's the bow or the arrow, they're both royal grade spirit weapons. Duan Lingtian's gaze landed on the black bow and arrow in his hands. As he raised his hands, he channeled origin energy into them respectively, causing them to emit a crisp sound. Whoosh! Without warning, Duan Lingtian's hands shook, and the bow and arrow in his hands shot out. The air was sucked out wherever it passed. When he withdrew his hands, a series of muffled thunderous explosions were heard. It's my first time refining a royal grade spirit weapon, and I've already given it a 1.2 times boost. Looks like I'm pretty good as a royal grade weapons craftsman. Although the heaven and earth energy here would not be affected by anyone's energy and would even form the heaven and earth phenomenon, Duan Lingtian could roughly estimate the boost from the bow and arrow. Whether it was the bow or the arrow, both of them were royal-grade spirit weapons even if they were separated. Now, I'll have to inscribe the interlinking formation on them. As Duan Lingtian's heart jolted, he raised his hands, and another pile of materials appeared. He controlled them with his invisible energy and hovered them in the air. These materials were inscription materials. He planned to engrave a mother-child formation on the bow and arrow that he had just refined so that they would never be separated from each other, just like a child and a mother. The mother-child formation was an extremely common inscription formation. Even on Cloud Continent, many people knew how to inscribe the interlinking formation. The interlinking formation was usually used on spirit weapons like bows and arrows. A bow-type spirit weapon that was inscribed with the child-mother formation could be used to shoot an arrow. Once the child-mother formation was activated, the arrow would be able to return to the bow in time. Naturally, the interlinking formation also had an effective range. The interlinking formation, which was widely used in Cloud Continent, had an effective range of 100 meters. In other words, only arrows that had traveled less than 100 meters could be retrieved through the interlocking array. Once it exceeded 100 meters, the arrow would be lost. Because of this, there were very few people on Cloud Continent who used bows and arrows. For an opponent who was more than 100 meters away from him, it would be fine if he could kill him with one arrow. However, if he couldn't and he didn't have any arrows in his hands, it would be quite dangerous. As for the power of that arrow, it was also because of its quality. Because of this, it was impossible to carry so many with you. For example, the arrow in Duan Lingtian's hand was a royal-grade spirit weapon. Even if he consumed all the remaining ink steel in his hand, he could only refine 2 more arrows at most. When he went to the Hidden Fog City to collect materials, he discovered that there was no ink steel in the Hidden Fog Island. One could imagine how rare ink steel was. The ink steel was a necessary material to refine a royal-grade spirit weapon. Fortunately, the interconnected mother array in Emperor Wu's memory was modified by him. Its effective range is now 500 meters. It's 5 times more effective than an ordinary interconnected mother array. Duan Lingtian sighed in relief when he thought of this. This meant that once he inscribed the interconnected mother array on the bow and arrow in his hand, as long as the arrow was less than 500 meters away from the bow, he would be able to retrieve it through the interconnected mother array. Once it was more than 500 meters away, he would have to pick up the arrow himself. If he was facing an enemy right before the battle, his opponent would not give him the time to pick up the arrow. Therefore, unless he had more than 1 arrow in his hand or he was confident he could kill or severely injure his opponent with 1 arrow, he would not dare to simply release the arrow if his opponent was more than 500 meters away from him. It seems like I'll have to use the remaining ink steel and other materials to refine 2 more arrows for safety purposes. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. In that case, he would have room for error twice within 500 meters. As long as he was confident he could severely injure or even kill his opponent with 3 arrows, he would be able to release the arrow to his heart's content even if his opponent was more than 500 meters away. But, if the arrow is shot with my power, once it leaves my sight, it will be difficult to find it again. Therefore, unless it's absolutely necessary, it's best not to shoot at an opponent more than 500 meters away. Duan Lingtian could not help but smile wryly when he thought of this. Putting aside the other people's arrows. The arrow in his hand was a royal-grade spirit weapon even if it stood on its own. He could not bear to throw it away. Following that, Duan Lingtian released his hand and began to inscribe the interconnected mother array. Since the reincarnation Emperor Wu had inscribed and set up this kind of inscription formation before, Duan Lingtian, who had already prepared the materials, could easily inscribe and set up the interconnected mother array on the bow and arrow. Let's give it a try. After inscribing the interconnected mother array, Duan Lingtian raised his hand and tossed the arrow in his hand out. Whoosh! The sharp arrow shot through the air as though it was released from a bow. Its speed was faster than lightning. However, Duan Lingtian still managed to catch its trajectory. When it was about to exceed the 500-meter range, Duan Lingtian's heart jolted as he activated the interconnected mother array on the bow in his hand. Whoosh! In just a blink of an eye, the arrow returned to his hand. Again. Duan Lingtian raised his hand again and tossed the arrow in his hand out. This time, he did not activate the interconnected mother array on the bow in his hand. Instead, he chased after the arrow on his own. When he chased after the arrow, he used the force he used to toss the arrow away. At the same time, he borrowed the strength of the bow, a royal-grade spirit weapon. This was because the arrow was a royal-grade spirit weapon. Otherwise, Duan Lingtian would not have been able to catch up to the arrow. Whoosh! Whoosh! For a moment, Duan Lingtian's speed was almost on par with the arrow. However, the arrow did not have the strength to continue and gradually slowed down. In the end, Duan Lingtian caught up to it and caught it in his hand. Moreover, this is an arrow that hasn't been released from a bow. Duan Lingtian knew this very well. If he had released the arrow through the bow with all his strength, he would not have been able to catch up to it. Soon after, Duan Lingtian took out the ox tendon that he had prepared earlier from his spatial ring. It was the ox tendon of a 9th-level void transformation stage ox-type demon beast. The ox tendon did not need to be refined. It could be hung on the bow directly. When he was refining the bow, Duan Lingtian had already prepared a socket for the bowstring. After hanging the beef tendon on the bow and tightening it, the body of the bow and the bowstring were complete, forming a perfect bow. Now, let's test the power of this bow. Duan Lingtian took out an arrow and placed it on the bowstring. He exerted force in his hand and pulled the bowstring. However, just as he gave the arrow power and pulled the bowstring into the shape of a full moon, something completely unexpected happened. Snap! A crisp sound reverberated in the air as the bowstring broke. Duan Lingtian was completely dumbfounded when he saw the ox tendon that had broken into two. He smiled wryly when he regained his senses. It seems like the ox tendon of a 9th-level void transformation stage demon beast isn't enough to be the bowstring of a royal-grade spirit archery set. Moreover, I can break this ox tendon with my own strength even if I don't use this royal-grade spirit archery set. After all, it's only the ox tendon of a 9th-level void transformation stage ox-type demon beast. I didn't think of this before. Duan Lingtian sighed when he thought of this. It seems like before I can find a suitable bowstring that can withstand my strength. Let alone a royal-grade spirit archery set, even a quasi-royal-grade spirit archery set won't be able to take shape. Currently, Duan Lingtian was very clear about this. Where should I find a suitable bowstring? Duan Lingtian was a little anxious. After a while, Duan Lingtian, who had caught his breath, went to the Hidden Fog City again. He searched the entire Hidden Fog City but could not find the tendon of a demon beast above the Demon Monarch stage. There were many body parts of a demon beast above the Demon Monarch stage in the Hidden Fog City. However, tendons were not something that could be found in every demon beast. It was either ox tendons or dragon tendons. Based on the current situation, it seemed like there were only two choices. Perhaps I should ask Brother Yang. At this moment, Duan Lingtian could not help but think of Yang Hui, the spirit-profound Emperor Wu, the Emperor Wu powerhouse from Cloud Continent who brought him to the Hidden Fog Island. He made his way back to the southern island when he thought of Yang Hui. With his current speed, it did not take long for him to return to the place where the people from Lingxian Peak were staying. He immediately went to look for Yang Hui. Brother Lingtian. Why you've broken through to the Emperor Wu stage? The moment Yang Hui laid his eyes on Duan Lingtian, he noticed the difference in Duan Lingtian. He concluded that Duan Lingtian must have broken through to the Emperor Wu stage. However, he did not dare to be completely sure. Although he was at the 4th level Emperor Wu stage or above, he could more or less tell if a person was an Emperor Wu powerhouse. However, he was not 100% sure. Congratulations, Brother Lingtian. Yang Hui only confirmed it when he saw Duan Lingtian nodding his head. At the same time, he congratulated Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded his head. Brother Lingtian, I didn't see you for a while. Where did you go? Yang Hui asked. He had gone to look for Duan Lingtian a few times before, but he did not see him at all. I was with my 2 fiancés. Duan Lingtian replied honestly. Fiancés? 2 of them? Yang Hui was stunned. He was shocked. Brother Lingtian, why you? When did you have fiancés? Did you just meet them? Are they from the Hidden Fog Island? No. Duan Lingtian shook his head. They're my childhood sweethearts. I haven't seen them for a long time. I didn't expect to reunite with them on the Hidden Fog Island. Childhood sweethearts. Yang Hui was even more shocked. At the same time, he vaguely confirmed something. Brother Lingtian. Why you mean? You've recovered your memory? Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded his head. Does this mean you're originally from the Hidden Fog Island? Yang Hui asked again. In his opinion, since Duan Lingtian's childhood sweethearts and fiancés were from the Hidden Fog Island, it meant that he and his 2 fiancés were most likely from the Hidden Fog Island. Chapter 1283. I'm not from the Hidden Fog Island. Duan Lingtian shook his head. He could understand Yang Hui's conjecture. If he were Yang Hui, he would have made the same conjecture too. You're not. Yang Hui was stunned and looked confused. Then, your 2 fiancés, they came to the Hidden Fog Island with Yuhan Emperor Wu of Yuhan Valley. Duan Lingtian said. Yuhan Emperor Wu. Yang Hui frowned. That crazy woman. Crazy woman. Duan Lingtian was stunned and looked confused. Why do you call her that? Brother Lingtian, you don't know this. Yuhan Emperor Wu is a 2-faced person. I heard that she killed her twin sister for the position of the Valley Master of Yuhan Valley decades ago. She did that because her twin sister was more talented than her. Moreover, she was going to be the next Valley Master of Yuhan Valley. After she killed her sister, she became the next Valley Master of Yuhan Valley as she wished. 20 years ago, the old Valley Master of Yuhan Valley died of old age, and she naturally became the new Valley Master of Yuhan Valley. Yang Hui said. Is all of this true? Duan Lingtian's face darkened as he asked for further confirmation. Yang Hui nodded without hesitation and said frankly, all of this isn't a secret to the Emperor Wu powerhouses and Demon Emperor powerhouses on Cloud Continent. Killed her own twin sister. Duan Lingtian's eyes shrunk, and his face darkened. Although he guessed that Yuhan Emperor Wu had her reasons for taking in Ke and Li Fei as her direct disciples, he did not expect Yuhan Emperor Wu to be such a crazy person. She could even kill her own twin sister. What else would a woman like her not do? However, Brother Lingtian, you don't have to worry. According to what I know, although that cold Emperor Wu is a crazy woman, she is very good to her direct disciples and has never neglected them. Since your 2 fiancés were able to become his direct disciples, their talents and comprehension abilities should not be too far behind yours. Without any conflict of interest, Emperor Wu Yuhan should not harm them. Yang Hui comforted Duan Lingtian when he saw his expression turning gloomy. Duan Lingtian nodded. Although his expression eased a little, his heart seemed to have sunk into a bottomless abyss. Yuhan Emperor Wu and his 2 fiancés might really have a conflict of interest. And that entanglement could very well have originated from him. To be more precise, it originated from the reincarnation Emperor Wu. He had long suspected that Yuhan Emperor Wu had obtained the Frost Emperor Wu's inheritance in Yuhan Valley and found out about the existence of the reincarnation Emperor Wu. Not only that, but she also knew some things about the reincarnation Emperor Wu. The 3 lives rebirth technique that the reincarnation Emperor Wu cultivated was not a secret to the Emperor Wu powerhouses and Demon Emperor powerhouses on the Cloud Continent 20,000 years ago. Especially the Frost Emperor Wu. She knew a lot about the 3 lives rebirth technique that the reincarnation Emperor Wu cultivated. This was also the reason why she made a bet with the reincarnation Emperor Wu back then. The bet was that the reincarnation Emperor Wu would lose and pass the 3 lives rebirth technique to her. If she lost, she would pass the Han Bing's divine sword technique to the reincarnation Emperor Wu. In the end, she lost and fulfilled her promise. Duan Lingtian found out about all this from the reincarnation Emperor Wu's memories. If it's really as I've guessed, that Frost Emperor Wu is a complete pest. Duan Lingtian cursed in his heart. If the Frost Emperor Wu had really passed on the 3 lives rebirth technique that the reincarnation Emperor Wu cultivated to the person who inherited her inheritance through some kind of method, then, the Valley Master of Yuhan Valley, the Yuhan Emperor Wu, who inherited her inheritance, would definitely know about the 3 lives rebirth technique that the reincarnation Emperor Wu cultivated and the profundity of the 3 lives rebirth technique. Maybe, she has already confirmed that I'm the 3rd reincarnation of the reincarnation Emperor Wu through the information that the Frost Emperor Wu left behind and the information that I passed on the Han Bing's divine sword technique to Kerr. Otherwise, with Kerr and Little Fei's talent and comprehension, they might not be able to catch her eye. Let alone become her lineal disciple. She definitely has a motive. Duan Lingtian had only guessed previously. But now, he was completely sure of it. The Yuhan Emperor Wu was definitely up to no good. Brother Ling Tian, where are your 2 fiancés? Did they return to the Yuhan Emperor Wu's side? Why didn't you bring them here for me to meet them? Yang Hui asked when he saw that Duan Lingtian was distracted. Yang Hui's words pulled Duan Lingtian back to reality. Duan Lingtian shook his head. They are cultivating. That's right. Soon, Duan Lingtian recalled the matter at hand. Brother Yang, do you know where I can find a flood dragon? Flood dragon? Yang Hui could not help but be shocked when he heard that. Naturally, he knew what the word flood dragon meant. Brother Ling Tian, why are you looking for a flood dragon? I need a dragon tendon. Duan Lingtian replied truthfully. Dragon tendon? The moment Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, the corner of Yang Hui's mouth twitched unnoticeably. Once a flood dragon's tendon was extracted, it would be crippled. To a flood dragon, a dragon tendon was equivalent to a human spine. It was extremely important. Without a spine, a human would be paralyzed and become a complete cripple. Therefore, there was only one way to obtain a flood dragon's tendon, and that was to kill it. There was no other choice. Brother Ling Tian, I've only heard of people encountering a flood dragon. I've never seen one myself. However, I'm sure there's a flood dragon deep in the ocean. When Yang Hui reached the end of his sentence, his eyes lit up as he looked towards the south. Currently, he was on the southern island of the Hidden Fog Island. To the south was the ocean outside the Hidden Fog Island. If he wanted to return to the Cloud Continent, he would have to pass through that ocean. You're sure? Duan Lingtian looked at Yang Hui. I've heard many people say that they've encountered a flood dragon in the ocean from the Cloud Continent to the Hidden Fog Island. That's right. Brother Ling Tian, you want a dragon tendon, right? Yang Hui was still excited when he spoke. However, as he spoke, he seemed to have recalled something. His eyes narrowed as he asked for confirmation again. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. Brother Ling Tian, I know an Emperor Wu powerhouse from the Cloud Continent. He once killed a flood dragon at the 2nd level of the Emperor Wu stage. I wonder if the flood dragon's dragon tendon is still in his hands. Yang Hui said. Although the flood dragon was only the lowest level of dragon, it was still a half-dragon. Its entire body was filled with treasures. Any normal person would keep its body. What Yang Hui was most worried about now was, the dragon tendon was no longer with the Emperor Wu powerhouse. Did he come to the hidden fog island? Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up as he asked anxiously. Since there was a chance for him to obtain the dragon tendon, he would not miss it even if the chance was slim. Only by obtaining the dragon tendon would he be able to find a suitable bowstring for his royal grade spirit archery set. At that time, he would be able to officially cultivate the Saint grade martial tactic, the colossal aerolite arrow. Ever since he learned about the power of the Saint grade martial tactic from Wang Ba, he was filled with anticipation for the colossal aerolite arrow. He was eager to officially cultivate it. He's here. He came to look for me half a month ago. Yang Hui nodded. That Emperor Wu powerhouse could be considered as his friend. Let's go look for him now. Duan Lingtian said anxiously as soon as Yang Hui was done speaking. It was as though he was afraid that the dragon tendon would be taken away from the Emperor Wu powerhouse if he was too slow. Okay. Yang Hui could clearly feel Duan Lingtian's anxiousness. He did not stay any longer and brought Duan Lingtian out of the mansion that the hidden fog island had prepared for the people from Lingxian Peak. Yang Hui and Duan Lingtian, one in front and one behind, headed directly towards the south. Yang Hui slowed down when they were approaching the ocean outside the southern island of the hidden fog island. At that moment, Duan Lingtian saw a mansion that was adjacent to the ocean. He could not help but ask curiously, "That's where he's staying?" To be exact, that's where he and the people he brought are staying. Yang Hui replied. Soon, under Yang Hui's lead, Duan Lingtian saw the Emperor Wu powerhouse that Yang Hui had mentioned. He was an old man in his 70s with white hair and white eyebrows. Although the old man looked old, he took good care of himself. He had white hair and a youthful face. His eyes, in particular, were as dazzling as the stars in the night sky. A bald middle-aged man followed behind the old man. He wore a tiger skin coat and stood there like a guardian. He had the aura of one man can hold the pass against 10,000 men. Yang Hui, we've just met half a month ago. Why are you looking for me this time? The old man's eyes gleamed as he looked at Yang Hui and asked. Dong Qiu, I'm indeed looking for you this time. However, let me introduce you to a little brother first. As Yang Hui spoke, he immediately looked at Duan Lingtian who was next to him. This is Brother Lingtian. Brother Lingtian, this is Dong Qiu. He's considered a famous Emperor Wu powerhouse on the Cloud Continent. His title is Qiu Li, and people call him Qiu Li Emperor Wu. Yang Hui introduced Duan Lingtian to Dong Qiu, the Qiu Li Emperor Wu, before he spoke to Duan Lingtian. Upon hearing that, Duan Lingtian nodded at Dong Qiu as a form of greeting. However, Dong Qiu had no intention of greeting him. Instead, he studied him from head to toe before he said nonchalantly, Yang Hui, I thought this is your new direct disciple. I didn't expect him to be your friend. Dong Qiu, although Brother Lingtian isn't my direct disciple, he came to the Hidden Fog Island this time to represent Lingxian Peak to participate in the Hidden Fog martial competition. Yang Hui said. Oh. Upon hearing Yang Hui's words, Dong Qiu's interest in Duan Lingtian was piqued. After studying Duan Lingtian for a while, his eyes lit up all of a sudden. Emperor Wu realm? Duan Lingtian nodded. Yang Hui, I thought Zhou Di was the only one who's at the Emperor Wu realm among the 10 people from Lingxian Peak who came to participate in the Hidden Fog martial competition. I didn't expect Lingxian Peak to not only keep a low profile, but you even found another person at the Emperor Wu realm. Chapter 1284. Upon hearing Dong Qiu's words, Yang Hui could not help but feel smug. Humph. We're all in the Emperor Wu realm, but there's still a difference in strength. At this moment, a low snort that was filled with disdain rang in the air, causing the smug smile on Yang Hui's face to freeze. Yang Hui's gaze then landed on the bald middle-aged man dressed in tiger pelt behind Dong Qiu. He was the one who had spoken earlier. The bald middle-aged man stood there and stared at Duan Lingtian. His eyes were filled with disdain and provocation. Dong Qiu, looks like Little Hu is very confident in his strength. Yang Hui was not angry. Instead, he looked at Dong Qiu and smiled. Little Hu. Upon hearing how Yang Hui addressed the bald middle-aged man, the corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth could not help but twitch. Then, he completely ignored the bald middle-aged man's disdainful and provocative gaze and continued to size him up. He was bald, middle-aged, and tall. He was at least 2 meters tall, and he looked careless. And such a tall middle-aged man was actually called Little Huzi by others. Unknowingly, a smile appeared on the corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth. What are you smiling about? The bald middle-aged man who had been staring at Duan Lingtian could not help but shout when he noticed the smile on the corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth. In the next moment, a cold gleam shot out from his eyes. It was as though he had transformed into a hungry tiger that would attack Duan Lingtian at any time. He might even kill and swallow Duan Lingtian. Dong Hu. Finally, Dong Qiu opened his mouth and scolded the bald middle-aged man. Didn't you hear what your junior uncle Yang Hui said? This brother Ling Tian is his friend. Apologize now. Unless he can defeat me. Otherwise, I won't apologize to him. However, Dong Hu did not buy it. Just as Dong Qiu's expression darkened, Yang Hui smiled faintly and took the initiative to comfort him. Old brother Qiu, as Little Hu's master and adoptive father, you've watched Little Hu grow up. Don't you know Little Hu's temper? Family misfortune, family misfortune. Dong Qiu shook his head and sighed, and a trace of helplessness appeared between his brows. Following that, Dong Qiu changed the topic. Brother Hui, you didn't come to look for me just to introduce brother Ling Tian to me, right? Old brother Qiu, the reason I came to look for you this time is because of the Wyrm dragon that you killed previously. Yang Hui took the initiative to explain the purpose of his visit. At the same time, he asked, may I know if you still have the flood dragon's dragon tendon? Dragon tendon? Dong Qiu was stunned at first. Then, with a raise of his hand, a long strip-shaped object that resembled a cow tendon appeared in his hand. It was crimson red and looked simple and unadorned. Dragon tendon. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up the moment he saw the strip, and he couldn't help but look excited. With just a glance, he could tell it was a dragon tendon. In the memories of the reincarnation Emperor Wu, he had seen a dragon tendon once. However, that was only the dragon tendon of a demon monarch staged Wyrm. Compared to this dragon tendon, it's only similar in appearance, but it's completely different in nature. It was precisely because the reincarnation Emperor Wu had seen a dragon tendon that Duan Lingtian immediately recognized the dragon tendon in Dong Qiu's hand. It was the dragon tendon that he desperately wanted to obtain. To tell the truth, although he had followed Yang Hui here to look for Dong Qiu, the Qiuli Emperor Wu, he did not have high hopes of obtaining the dragon tendon. However, he did not expect Dong Qiu to really have the dragon tendon, and he even took it out. Old brother Qiu, can you transfer this dragon tendon of yours to me? Yang Hui's eyes lit up as he looked at Dong Qiu and said bluntly, you can name a price. Moreover, as he unleashed his full strength, a gigantic axe appeared in his hand. Whoosh! As a big guy, Dong Hu's speed was not slow at all. The burden on his body did not seem to affect him at all. In just a blink of an eye, he seemed to have transformed into a bolt of lightning as he charged toward Duan Lingtian. Boom! 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 Wherever Dong Hu passed, the airflow in the air stirred as a series of deafening explosions sounded. It was as though thunder had struck one's heart. From the beginning until the end, Yang Hui stood at the side and watched quietly. After Yang Hui had spoken, Dong Qiu no longer stopped Dong Hu. Naturally, It was not only because this was Yang Hui's decision, but also because he wanted to see what kind of technique this young man, whom Yang Hui regarded as a friend, had. Although those who were at the martial monarch stage and above could maintain their youth forever. However, those who participated in the hidden fog martial competition had to be below the age of 70. Therefore, he was certain. This young man was not too old. He's not dodging. Soon after, Dong Qiu's eyes narrowed abruptly. This was because he saw Duan Lingtian still standing at the same spot even when Dong Hu was using his spirit weapon and attacking with all his might. It was as though he was waiting for Dong Hu's attack to land. What's he trying to do? Is it because he can't dodge in time? Or is he stunned? Or... Just as Dong Qiu's mind was spinning as he thought of many possibilities, whoosh! Dong Hu arrived in front of Duan Lingtian. The gigantic axe in his hand vibrated as a series of thunderous explosions sounded. Subsequently, he swung the gigantic axe and slashed it at Duan Lingtian's head. Die! Dong Hu's eyes gleamed coldly. He did not show any mercy as he swung his axe with a force that seemed to be able to split the heavens and earth. As Dong Hu swung his axe at him menacingly, Duan Lingtian could clearly feel the sharpness of the incoming axe. If he was hit by Dong Hu's axe, he would definitely be split into two. He did not doubt this at all. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's robe fluttered behind him as Dong Hu swung his axe at him. It was as though it was blown by a gust of wind. Yang Hui could not help but frown when he saw the gigantic axe in Dong Hu's hand was only a foot away from Duan Lingtian. He could not figure out what Duan Lingtian was trying to do. He had always been confident in Duan Lingtian's strength. In fact, Duan Lingtian was able to defeat Yang Hui's direct disciple, Zhou Di, who had already broken through to the first stage of the Emperor Wu stage before he broke through to the Emperor Wu stage. Now that Duan Lingtian's cultivation base had improved by leaps and bounds and had broken through to the Emperor Wu stage in one fell swoop, his strength must have improved as well. Although Dong Hu was one of the best among those at the first stage of the Emperor Wu stage and his strength far surpassed his direct disciple, Zhou Di, in his opinion, it was almost impossible for Dong Hu to defeat Duan Lingtian. However, faced with the dangerous situation before him, even he could not help but want to make a move. This was because if he did not make a move now, it would be too late. At that time, Duan Lingtian would be split into two. Stop! Just as Yang Hui was about to make a move, Dong Qiu had already shouted and made his move. However, right at this instant, he'd just made a slight movement when he seemed to have noticed something, causing him to abruptly stop moving and look ahead with a dumbstruck expression. It was as though he had seen something shocking. At the same time, Yang Hui also stopped in his tracks. In the distance, the gigantic axe in Dong Hu's hand finally landed. However, it did not land on Duan Lingtian's body. Instead, it landed on the sharp arrow that suddenly appeared in Duan Lingtian's hand. Clang! Almost in an instant, the gigantic axe and the sharp arrow collided and made a deafening sound. Chapter 1285. Boom! 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 Wherever the shockwave passed, the air was compressed to its limit. Seeing that everything was about to turn into ashes, Dong Qiu and Yang Hui made their move. The two of them were Emperor Wu powerhouses. They easily protected everything around them, including the residence that Dong Qiu was staying in. It was the residence that the hidden fog island had prepared for them on the Qiuli mountain. The Qiuli mountain was Dong Qiu's cultivation ground. Although Dong Qiu and Yang Hui made their move in time and prevented everything from turning into ashes, the commotion caused by the shockwave still alerted the other Emperor Wu's disciples on the Qiuli mountain. 9 figures leaped into the air one after another. They hovered in the air and looked at the center of the shockwave from afar. It's senior brother Dong Hu. Soon, someone noticed Dong Hu. Who's that purple-clad young man? He's actually on par with senior brother Dong Hu. Someone also noticed Duan Lingtian. No. It's not as simple as a draw. A few people with good eyesight seemed to have noticed something and shook their heads. Right at this moment, Duan Lingtian stood on the spot and casually took out his royal-grade spiritual arrow. He easily blocked Dong Hu's full-powered attack. He looked at Dong Hu, whose face was flushed red with mockery. Is that all you've got? Ha! Dong Hu, who was provoked by Duan Lingtian, suddenly shouted. A vast amount of energy surged out of the gigantic axe in his hand. Unfortunately, his energy could not move the arrow in Duan Lingtian's hand at all. The huge amount of energy was like a stone sinking into the sea. It's over. Duan Lingtian had a carefree expression as he spoke indifferently, and his hand started to move. He shook the arrow in his hand. The five-colored flame raging on his body suddenly transformed into the shape of a sword. It swept out from his body and hit Dong Hu. Bang! With a loud bang, Dong Hu's body trembled. Unsurprisingly, he was sent flying by the energy that swept out from Duan Lingtian's body. Poof! Barf! A shockwave swept out in all directions once again. All the spectators saw was Dong Hu flying over 100 meters away like an arrow released from a bow. Along the way, he kept spitting out blood, looking extremely wretched. On the other hand, the other party stood there, unmoving like a mountain. From beginning to end, he did not move an inch. So strong. The gazes of the Chioli Mountain disciples fell on Duan Lingtian, their pupils constricting as their hearts filled with shock. Dong Hu was the #1 disciple of Chioli Mountain. He was also the only direct disciple of Emperor Wu who was at the level of Emperor Wu. However, such an existence was defeated by this unfamiliar purple-clothed young man. Moreover, it was a clean defeat. He was merciful. Quite a few people saw this point. That person seems to be Spirit Profound Emperor Wu. Soon, Dong Qiu's other personal disciple recognized Yang Hui, who was standing beside Dong Qiu. Yang Hui and Dong Qiu had been friends for many years before they broke through to the Emperor Wu stage. After both of them had broken through to the Martial Emperor stage and became famous martial emperors on Cloud Continent, their friendship was still as good as before. They would often visit each other. As long as one was a direct disciple under their command, they would not be strangers to both of them. He's the Spirit Profound Emperor Wu. Then, that purple-clothed young man is his eldest direct disciple, Zhou Di. I've long heard that the Spirit Profound Emperor Wu has a direct disciple under him who's also an Emperor Wu powerhouse. Many Chioli Mountain disciples whispered among themselves. It's not Zhou Di. I've seen Zhou Di before, but he's not. Moreover, as far as I know, Zhou Di is no match for senior brother Dong Hu. One of the Chioli Mountain disciples shook his head. As one of the few martial emperor's direct disciples under martial emperor Chioli, he knew much more than the others. It's not Zhou Di. Don't tell me he's a new disciple under Spirit Profound Emperor Wu. Many people secretly guessed. Ha! Brother Ling Tian, you're really something. At this moment, Dong Qiu laughed loudly. He was not unhappy that Dong Hu was defeated by Duan Lingtian. In fact, there was a hint of joy in the depth of his eyes. It was as though he was happy that Duan Lingtian defeated Dong Hu. Dong Hu was too arrogant, and he had long wanted to find an opportunity to break his spirit. This time, Duan Lingtian could be considered to have helped him. Chioli, Emperor Wu, you flatter me. At this moment, Duan Lingtian returned to Yang Hui's side and nodded at Dong Qiu as he spoke humbly. Little Hu. Have you learned your lesson this time? Yang Hui asked with a mocking smile as he looked at Dong Hu, who had recovered from his injuries after consuming the healing medicinal pill. Humph. Hearing Yang Hui's teasing, Dong Hu snorted and obediently returned behind Dong Qiu. When he looked at Duan Lingtian again, there was a hint of fear in his eyes. There was still some lingering fear in his heart. In the beginning, because Yang Hui regarded Duan Lingtian as a friend and he was a generation lower than him for no reason, he was very unhappy and even wanted to provoke him. He wanted to defeat Duan Lingtian and prove that Duan Lingtian did not have the qualifications to be Yang Hui's friend. Who knew that he, who was full of confidence, would be defeated in just one exchange? Moreover, he could feel that the other party had shown mercy. Otherwise, he would already be dead. Brother Ling Tian. At this moment, Yang Hui passed the dragon tendon that Dong Qiu had handed to him earlier to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian reached out his hand to take it, his emotions surging. The dragon tendon of Emperor Wu's second-level flood dragon. Soon after, Duan Lingtian grabbed the dragon tendon with both of his hands and pulled it with all his might as though he wanted to break it. However, no matter how much five-colored sword-shaped flame soared from his body and how hard he pulled, the dragon tendon was only slightly stretched by him. He could not break it at all. Brother Ling Tian, this dragon tendon came from the body of an Emperor Wu's flood dragon. It's extremely tough. Let alone you, even I can't do anything about it. Dong Qiu, who saw Duan Lingtian's actions, could not help but laugh. That's right, Brother Ling Tian. It's said that even someone at the peak of Emperor Wu might not be able to break the dragon tendon of this demon emperor stage flood dragon. Yang Hui chimed in from the side. Duan Lingtian nodded. There was an uncontrollable excitement on his face. If he used this dragon tendon on a royal grade spirit bow and arrow that he had prepared beforehand, a royal grade spirit bow and arrow would be born. A royal grade spirit bow and arrow was also known as a saint weapon in the Dao martial saint land. With a saint weapon, I'll be able to officially cultivate the saint grade martial tactic, colossal aerolite arrow. Duan Lingtian was inexplicably excited. At this moment, Duan Lingtian was eager to return home. After bidding farewell to Yang Hui and Dong Qiu, he left in a hurry. Naturally, he did not return to the place where Ling Xian Peak and the others were staying. Instead, he returned to the wooden house in the northeast of the hidden fog island. He studied the saint grade martial tactic, colossal aerolite arrow, while guarding the two girls. He had long memorized the colossal aerolite arrow in his mind. It was difficult for him to forget it. This was a special ability that was given to him by his soul. As long as he merged his spiritual energy into the saint token that contained the saint grade martial tactic, he would be able to memorize the saint grade martial tactic in the saint token. Ordinary people would not be able to do this at all. The colossal aerolite arrow was an archery skill. It had a high requirement on one's basic skills. First, one must master how to aim. However, this was not too difficult for Duan Lingtian. In his previous life, he was the most powerful weapon specialist on Earth. Although he had never come into contact with ancient long-range weapons such as bows and arrows, he was no stranger to all kinds of firearms. In his previous life, he had mastered his marksmanship to the extreme. He could shoot his target's head with a sniper rifle from hundreds of meters away without using a scope. Therefore, it was not too difficult for him to familiarize himself with the aim of a bow and arrow since he had already trained his aiming instincts. In just a day and a night, he could almost achieve a flawless shooting. In this life, Duan Lingtian was a born archer. The next morning, dawn shrouded the land. The fresh air made Duan Lingtian so comfortable that he closed his eyes. Although he had not slept for a day and a night, he did not feel tired at all. At his cultivation base, he would not feel tired even if he did not rest for a month. Of course, it was only his body that would not feel tired. His heart would more or less feel tired. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian seemed to have sensed something. He raised his eyebrows and looked up at the sky. There, a flock of seabirds flew past. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian's purple robe fluttered and a bow appeared in his hand. The bow was as black as ink. It was so black that it made people feel like they would be lost in it. It was like a bottomless abyss. On the bow, there was a crimson bowstring. The bowstring was as thick as a grown man's thumb. It was a perfect fit with the black bow. Duan Lingtian held the bow in his left hand and aimed it at the flock of seabirds. His right hand had unknowingly approached the body of the bow. The instant it approached the body of the bow, an arrow appeared in his right hand. It was an arrow that was completely black, just like the body of the bow. The arrowhead was sharp and shone with a cold light, as if it could pierce through everything. Creak! Creak! Duan Lingtian knocked the arrow in his right hand on the bowstring. As he held the arrow in his right hand, a wisp of milky white flame surged. He pulled the bowstring but did not pull it much. It was not that Duan Lingtian wanted to do this. It was just that he could not pull the bowstring much with his own elemental energy. This bow was not an ordinary bow. Not to mention other things, just the bowstring alone was the dragon tendon of the Emperor Wu Realm Level 2 Flood Dragon. It was said that even a peak Emperor Wu Realm expert could not pull it apart. As an Emperor Wu Realm Level 1 expert, it was already considered good that he could pull it apart a little with his elemental energy. It's starting. With a thought, Duan Lingtian fixed his gaze on the flock of seabirds flying past in the sky. The seabirds flew past in a leisurely manner, completely unaware of the danger that was about to befall them. 1 bird. 2 birds. 3 birds. Release. In an instant, Duan Lingtian's thoughts changed. He released the arrow in his right hand and let it fly. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian's arrow turned into a bolt of lightning and flew across the sky. In the blink of an eye, it hit and penetrated a seabird. After the first seabird was penetrated, the arrow continued to fly and penetrated the second seabird. Chapter 1286. Killing 3 seabirds with 1 arrow. Duan Lingtian could be said to have killed 3 birds with 1 arrow. If someone who was good at archery were to see such archery skills, they would be shocked beyond words. The flock of seabirds flying high in the sky was already moving quickly. To kill one of them with an arrow, one would need to have superb archery skills. To kill 2 birds with 1 arrow, in addition to superb archery skills, one would also need to have very strong observation and judgment skills. Because only then could one guarantee to kill 2 seabirds with 1 arrow. To kill 3 birds with 1 arrow, the requirements were even higher. 3 seabirds moving at high speed in a line. The opportunity was only in the blink of an eye. To kill them consecutively with 1 arrow in the blink of an eye would undoubtedly be more difficult than killing 2 birds with 1 arrow. Dragon soars in the 9 heavens. Unknowingly, Duan Lingtian's body swept across the 9 heavens as if he had transformed into a divine dragon. As he stopped moving, 3 seabirds appeared in front of him. They were suspended in the air by his invisible force, allowing him to observe them. Almost there. Glancing at the 3 dead seabirds, Duan Lingtian seemed to have discovered something. He shook his head and sighed with a look of pity. The reason why Duan Lingtian sighed was because of the 3 dead seabirds. 2 of the seabirds had their left eyes pierced. The last seabird had its neck pierced. The reason why he said it was almost there and even sighed was because the last seabird's death was different from the other 2 seabirds. When Duan Lingtian attacked, he wanted to kill the 3 seabirds by piercing their left eyes with 1 arrow. Now, although they were dead, one of the seabirds' death was much worse than what he had expected. Therefore, he was very dissatisfied with this. If there was a second person here who knew what Duan Lingtian was thinking, he would definitely be speechless. In just 1 day and 1 night, he had cultivated his archery skills to such a level. It was shocking. Was he still not satisfied? Do you want me to live? Of course, this was also because outsiders did not know about Duan Lingtian's past. If they knew that Duan Lingtian had been a soldier king on earth in his previous life, they would definitely not think this way. In his past life, Duan Lingtian's spear technique was ranked number 1 even in the entire earth. Earth's strongest soldier king, the meaning of these 6 words was no joke. In addition to his terrifying battle prowess, Duan Lingtian's spear skills were also terrifying. Because of this, Duan Lingtian had high expectations for himself. In the end, bows and arrows are still lacking in firearms. If I used the firearms on Earth, as long as it was powerful enough, I would have 100% confidence that I would be able to pierce their left eye. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. However, Duan Lingtian was not discouraged. He quickly immersed himself in his archery practice and completely forgot about the time. Another day and night passed. Duan Lingtian made his move once again. It was still killing 3 birds with 1 arrow. However, this time, he accurately pierced the left eye of the 3 seabirds with 1 arrow and completed the mission that he had set for himself. Since then, Duan Lingtian's archery foundation had been laid. Now, I can officially start cultivating the colossal aerolite arrow. The moment Duan Lingtian thought about this, he felt a little excited. However, before this, Duan Lingtian thought of something. Bastard, is there anything I need to pay attention to when cultivating the Saint Grade martial tactic? Duan Lingtian suddenly asked. He intentionally asked Wang Ba who was residing in his body. To be more precise, he was asking about Wang Ba's soul. Wang Ba claimed to be a saint stage powerhouse in the Dao martial saint land. Due to this reason, he had many questions for Wang Ba since it was his first time cultivating the Saint Grade martial tactic. However, Wang Ba did not respond. That's right. I almost forgot. Soon after, a light bulb lit up in Duan Lingtian's mind as though he had recalled something. At the same time, his heart jolted. At the same time, the majestic spiritual energy that had gathered in the depths of his mind suddenly spread out. Boy, are you trying to suffocate me to death? As soon as the spiritual energy that had gathered at the side was dispersed by Duan Lingtian, a flustered and exasperated voice entered Duan Lingtian's ears. It was none other than Wang Ba. Didn't I let you out now? Duan Lingtian said nonchalantly. Boy, don't you think you should give me an explanation? How could you use your spiritual energy to seal me for no reason? Do you want me to lose face? Wang Ba said in a deep voice. Lose face? Duan Lingtian's expression remained unchanged as he asked calmly, do you have that thing now? Moreover, don't tell me you don't know why I sealed you with my spiritual energy. Humph. Wang Ba snorted coldly. Boy, you underestimate me too much. I've lived for so long, what kind of woman have I not seen before? Do you think I'd peek at you being intimate with those 2 girls? Wang Ba remembered it clearly. The last time he was sealed by Duan Lingtian with his spiritual energy, it was when Duan Lingtian and the 2 girls built the wooden house not far away. As for the reason, it was easy for him to guess. It must be because he was worried that he would peek at them doing something good. Who knows? Duan Lingtian said nonchalantly, you said it yourself. You're a devil cultivator. Devil cultivator, you don't sound like a good person. You. Wang Ba was furious when he heard this. You better be prepared. In the future, if there's a need, I'll still seal your soul with my spiritual energy. Duan Lingtian said again. He did not want Wang Ba to be a bystander when he was being intimate with the 2 girls. Perhaps, Wang Ba was indeed a saint stage powerhouse when he was at his peak. However, Wang Ba's soul that was currently residing in his body was extremely weak and could be suppressed by Duan Lingtian's spiritual energy that was at the Emperor Wu stage. Boy, you'll regret this. How dare you treat a saint stage powerhouse like this? Wang Ba's tone was filled with dissatisfaction. If you continue to spout nonsense, do you believe that I'll seal you right now? Duan Lingtian threatened, causing Wang Ba to shut his mouth. As the saying went, when one is under someone else's roof, one must lower one's head. He had no choice but to swallow his anger. Also, I asked you to come out because I want to ask you. Is there anything I need to pay attention to when cultivating the Saint Grade martial tactic? Soon after, Duan Lingtian recalled the important matter and asked. Just like that. With Wang Ba's help, Duan Lingtian officially began to cultivate the Saint-grade martial tactic, Colossal Aerolite Arrow, in preparation for the Hidden Fog martial competition that was coming soon. Naturally, he also did some other things during this period. For example, refining pills. To be more precise, he was refining pills using the Demon Emperor's inner core. Apart from the Stygian scaled bear's inner core that he obtained previously, he had also obtained a few Demon Emperor's inner cores when he was cultivating the Colossal Aerolite Arrow. It was not difficult for him to refine pills using the Demon Emperor's inner core. His success rate was extremely high as well. However, since he had only killed a few low-level Demon Emperors, the pills refined from the Demon Emperor's inner core did not raise his cultivation base by much. However, although it did not raise his cultivation base by much, it raised Li Fei and Kerr a lot. The Demon Emperor's inner core was the crystallization of the Demon Emperor's origin energy. After Duan Lingtian refined them into pills, the medicinal efficacy was easily absorbed. Therefore, before the start of the Hidden Fog martial competition, the two girls' cultivation base had been increasing rapidly. It could be said that they were advancing at a tremendous speed. As the Hidden Fog martial competition drew closer, the atmosphere on the Hidden Fog Island changed slightly. South Island. A person appeared out of thin air above a spacious mansion. He stared at the lady who was waiting there with a burning gaze and asked in a deep voice, "The two girls haven't returned yet?" "Yes." The lady nodded. This lady was Yuhan Valley's eldest senior sister, Soaring. The person who appeared out of thin air and questioned her in a deep voice was Yuhan Emperor Wu himself. "It seems like the two girls have forgotten about me, their master, now that they have a fiancé." Yuhan Emperor Wu's voice was getting colder as he spoke. At the same time, a sharp light flickered in the depths of her eyes. "The Hidden Fog martial competition is in 10 days. They haven't returned yet." Su Rong frowned and asked, "Master, do you want me to look for them?" "Go ahead." Yuhan Emperor Wu nodded. At once, Su Rong left as though she had transformed into a bolt of lightning. In just a blink of an eye, she disappeared into the fog not far away and disappeared before Yuhan Emperor Wu's eyes. 7 days later. At the mansion where the people from Ling Xian Peak were staying. "Why isn't Brother Ling Tian back yet? There are only 3 days left until the Hidden Fog martial arts competition." Yang Hui, the spirit-profound Emperor Wu, frowned slightly when he found out that Duan Lingtian had yet to return. "I wonder where he went. I should have asked him about his whereabouts when he left after retrieving the dragon tendon. Great, we can't even find him now." Yang Hui felt helpless. "Master, there are only 3 days left. Junior Uncle Duan will definitely return." Zhou Di stood behind Yang Hui and comforted him. After learning that Duan Lingtian had severely injured and defeated Qiuli Mountain's Dong Hu in just one blow, Zhou Di, who was Emperor Wu's direct disciple under Yang Hui's command, had a new understanding of Duan Lingtian. At the same time, since his master addressed Duan Lingtian as brother, he regarded Duan Lingtian as his junior uncle. "I hope so." Yang Hui nodded when he heard Zhou Di's comforting words. 1 day. 2 days. Another 2 days went by. The Hidden Fog martial competition would be held on the Hidden Fog Island the next day. Whoosh! 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 3 swift silhouettes flew out from the northeast of the Hidden Fog Island. Soon, they arrived at the southern island. They flew in a certain direction at an extremely fast speed. Soon, the 3 of them appeared in front of a spacious mansion. "Junior Uncle Duan, you're finally back." As soon as the 3 of them stood still, they heard a voice coming from nearby. The voice was filled with indescribable excitement. "Junior Uncle." At once, the 2 beauties among the 3 of them turned their heads to look at the handsome young man in the middle. They were confused. "Zhou Di." You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.